Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another round of fast and frantic racing in the Next Gen Racing Touring Car Championship Season 5, brought to you on the Premier Sim Racing platform, available only on PC, known as iRacing, and powered by IMB Racewear. This is the series that, of course, continues to pose the question: who is the master or mistress of the front-engine, front-wheel drive touring car racing class machine? And today we continue the story in our journey to answering that question with round 3 of 10 at the Interlagos circuit in Brazil. A circuit previously featured in the NXTCC back in Season 2, and what a raw and a triumphant round of racing we had there when we visited the circuit all those months and years ago. We are back today with a bang for a circuit that continues to deliver, whether it be in the real world of motorsport or in the world of simulated motorsport. Winding its way around the local hilly terrain within the suburbs of the city of São Paulo of Brazil, this circuit, which takes its nickname from being located between two man-made lakes, and literally translated to between lakes, its full name is known as the Autódromo José Carlos Pace, in reference to the famous and infamous Brazilian motorsporting legend. But as our drivers get ready to go racing today, they'll be looking to create legendary status of their own, with mid-season break awaiting them after this round, and therefore plenty to play for, particularly also with the fact that success balance continued to take its effect, and this is a round of racing where success balance will become incredibly pronounced. But all that and more will be discussed very shortly as we welcome you all to this live broadcast from circuit side, and this broadcast being brought to you on free media platforms for your viewing pleasure. See on the official Next Gen Racing media platforms of what is both on YouTube at youtube.com and search for Next Gen Racing, and welcome to you guys and girls in the YouTube chat. Alternatively, you could be tuning in via Facebook right now, and that'd be at facebook.com/groups/Next Gen Racing, and welcome to you guys and girls on Facebook. And we also have the unofficial broadcast being brought to you on Twitch at twitch.tv/TX141, and welcome to you guys and girls on Twitch. And who is TX141? I hear you ask. Well, allow me to introduce myself. I'm your host and commentator for this season, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Paul Walsh, also known as TX141 or Britain a Spit, depending on what media you follow me on, and what a round of racing we've got ahead of us today. And let's take you through that schedule. Times in Greenwich Mean Time, that's GMT, or Universal Coordinated Time, UTC. And as we can see, in approximately 18 minutes time, we'll be going into our qualifying session, 15 minutes in duration, all drives out on circuit. And when you do have the best part of 40 drives out on circuit, and whilst the Interlagos circuit is quite an extended one, spanning a track length of 4.22 kilometres or 2.67 miles in the old Imperial system, it's going to get crowded and very quickly come down just as much to one lap pace in the clear air as it will be trying to pick up a slipstream. But after qualifying, we'll be making our way into our first of 3 races today, all of them sprint races, of course, starting off with a 12-lap race at 8:15, and that'll be race number 1 of the day, all of our races being 12 laps in duration. And then we're taking a brief breather before returning for the gridding process at approximately 9 o'clock for race number 2. And then we'll be walking away once again before a return at 9:45 for race number 3. So 3 races ahead of us. It's a packed schedule and plenty to talk about. And speaking of which, let's give you a reminder of the championship calendar thus far and what we've still got lying in wait. For as we can see here, we're now onto round number 3. And after this round, we have our mid-season break, as we previously mentioned. But of course, this has all been preceded by the season open on the 7th of November, when we made our way to the United Kingdom for the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit. We couldn't kick off a touring car season without visiting the Kent County circuit. And then we got to see some absolutely brilliant racing, and Mikey were leading the way at the front of the field in the overall championship. Then in round number 2, last time out, we're at the Circuit of the Americas in the US state of Texas, for was the west layout of the circuit. And on the 14th of November, we got to see many a driver deliver a great performance, but none more so than the perfect performance of Alex Meredith in the Prime class, making amends for what was a difficult season opener by taking all 3 victories plus pole position in the Prime class, and that perfect score launching him up the stands, as you're going to see shortly. But today, of course, is the 21st November 2023, and after the mid-season break, we will be returning for round number 4 and our next 3 rounds of the season in the run-up to Christmas, with round number 4 being at the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park in Canada, or we know and love it and refer to it by the nickname of Canadian Thruxton, as it was the circuit that we had to substitute Thruxton out of in Season 1, given the fact that Thruxton is not available on the iRacing service, and therefore we decided to use the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, or Motorsport as it's known in short, as it is the closest comparator. And what a round of racing you are going to see in round number 4 when we return on the 5th of December, for the simple reason there's no circuit quite like it. It's undulations and it's fast sweeping apexes. But after round number 4 and round number 5, we'll be making our way to Germany for a double header on the 12th of December. It will be round 5 at the Nürburgring Grand Prix Strecke, the sprint out to the circuit playing host our drivers, and then we'll be making our way over to the Motorsport Arena Oschersleben for round number 6 on the 19th of December, and that circuit of course holding history, as it was the location of the first ever Prime overall winner in the race in race number 3 all the way back in Season 2, if my memory serves me correctly, and that accolade going to Reese Watt from JW Motorsport. Then we're taking our second mid-season break. Of course, we're going to let all our drivers celebrate Christmas amongst their family and friends before we return in 2024 with a bang on the 2nd of January, and we'll be kicking off at the Circuit de Magny for round number 7, kicking off our final 4 rounds of the season. And the French circuit making its debut in the NXTCC calendar, and a circuit that's highly technical and absolutely packed with circuit references with regards to referencing chicanes from Imola and also other circuits around the world, including the Nürburgring. So it's going to feel a familiar but somewhat foreign circuit to our drivers. And then we make our way from France to the United States of America for the second and final time this season for another newcomer to the NXTCC calendar, and that'll be round number 8 on the 9th of January with the Sebring International Raceway. But we then make our way back to the United Kingdom for a double header and a first with regards to a circuit, and that's the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit on the 16th of January, while drivers will be taken to the full layout of the course, the home of British motorsport, and they'll be making their way to the concluding round and returning to the BTCC, or the British Touring Car Championship calendar for 2024, and then we're going to see it returning as a honouring mention of that. It will be the Donington Park Grand Prix circuit on the 23rd of January to bring everything to a close and bring the curtain down. So plenty of racing still to go, and we are only 3 rounds in as of today. But being only 3 rounds in, let's take a look at those championship standings, and my goodness, they are pivotal and they continue to swing back and forth. We started with the overall Drivers' Championship, and here we can see it's Joseph Doble who now leads the way. 5 points clear ahead of brother Mikey, and right now the 2 brothers leading the way for Doble Sim Racing at 1-2 there, with a sizable gap to the rest of the field as being led by Daniel Martin. And the RD Simsport driver continuing to try and push on and trying to close the gap to the top 2, but he's got to be wary of the fact that beyond that sizable gap, he also has pressure coming from the likes of Wojciech Swierdowicz in P4, and then a sizable gap to Adam Delmont. So it does look as though they come in packs of 2 so far, with the Doble brothers ahead of Martin and Swierdowicz, but then we can see Adam Delmont in P5 leads the rest of the field in the hunt for the top 4 space on 174 points, 12 clear of Jamie Dory, who switched the Audi for this season, starting to reap the rewards, and 162 points, he's 15 clear of Paul Zanatacci. We can then see Martin Shirley at P8 there on 146 points, 1 behind, ahead of Lee Horn in return by 8 points, and Isaac Doble, your leading prime, completes the top 10 there on 135. And then Benjamin McCluskey, P11, best the rest on 132 points, 2 clear of Garen Gardner, with Jaroslav Sabula, P13, ahead of Dan Mould, and Alex Meredith, your second place, prime driving the overall standings there, launching his way into P15 after that great set of results at the Circuit of the Americas last week. William Guthrie, Fraser Elphick, Russell Fowler, Michael Lees and Nick Clemens complete your top 20, and outside the top 20, P21, it's Matthew Addy, who on 68 points is 2 clear of Daniel Downing, with Vinal Trier, John Higgins Jr. and Sam Van Olst completing around the P25. From Van Olst, it's 9 points to Reese Watt, and Reese Watt right now still climatising to the world of the pro class at the moment, and therefore looking for a better set of scores today, but still experience will come his way, as it will for Alan McCain, who continues to rise up through the ranks down to P27 for iRace Esports, head of Ian Manners, Duncan Moraes and Matthew Sheraton. But outside the top 30, it's Luciano Vidford, currently on 28 points, having a difficult start to the season for the Brabham Esports driver and looking to try and turn things around sooner rather than later. He's only got 5 points over Luke Jones, with Sam Smith equal on points to Jones, but behind based on result countback, and it's the third point to Paul Scott and Jay Calais, a very happy and popular driver down in the paddock. It must be said, the Pro-Am driver there on 21 points, getting some good points in the overall championship, and you'll see shortly how he's faring in the Pro-Am class and how his fortunes are starting to favour him. Meanwhile, we then have Harry Gaylor, P36, ahead of Rafael Zasht, and then we can see Mark Kent, Wayne Douglas, and Damon McQueen completing your top 40. And outside the top 40, let's not forget about them. Jonathan Collins, P41 on 7 points, 1 ahead of Stephen Fry, with Jake Pitt, Mark Sykes, and Alex Everett completing the top 45, and then Andrew Holmes and Callum Jenkins completing your top 47, all with points to their names, and then drivers yet scoring the overall points, James Pascal, Harlow Bicknell, and what is there? George Watson at P50, and then we have Peter Green with P51, Nigel Stott P52, Dom Joy P53, Craig Tillerston, and then it's Scott Malcolm who completes your top 55, I should say. And on -5 points, the 3 tries due to post-race penalties. We see Gabriel Yilmaz, Ian Wild, and Adam McNally. But that's how the standings stand overall. And now let's come on to the Pro-Am Drivers' Championship, or what is known as the IMB Racewear Championship. And as we can see, when the scores are adjusted for the Pro-Am finishing positions in class in each of the rounds, so far it's Isaac Doble who leads on 295 points, but his advantage has been slashed to 28 points over Alex Meredith, with Meredith's run of form last time out really boosting his chances in the championship nice and early. But this seems familiar, it is, because it was the exact same story last season after 2 rounds, where we saw Isaac Doble leading the way by a sizable gap and Alex Meredith nipping at his heels, with Ben Altrier meanwhile in P3. He's a sizable gap off of the top 2, the best part there of what is 41 points, but Altrier finds himself in one of his best performances so far last week, and he'll be looking to continue that momentum as he holds what is a 9-point advantage over Daniel Downing, and Sam Van Alst a further 17 behind. They're completing the top 5, and Goldwing Motorsports right now P4, P5. Keep your eyes out for the pair of what is Daniel Downing and Sam Van Alst. We reckon they could be championship contenders. Matthew Sheraton, P6 and 166 points. He's free clear of Luke Jones with Jay Clay in P8 and moving into the top 10 and pushing forwards towards the top 5 now. Head of Paul Scott based on result countback, and there's Alan McCain who completes your top 10, a further 2 points behind, and then 13 points off of the top 10. Duncan Morais there, with fortune not favouring him compared to his teammates thus far, but he'll be looking for a better set of results today in order to steer clear of Mark Sykes with Jonathan Collins, Harlow Bicknell and Callum Jenkins completing your top 15. And it's Mark Kent, Harry Gaylor, James Pascal, George Watson and Jake Pitt who complete your top 20. And notice the run of the 3 Aztec Racing drivers there, all eager to break into the top 15. But will they be able to do the same as teammate Callum Jenkins tonight? We'll have to wait and see. Then looking outside the top 20, Ian Will, P21, continuing to improve with regards to his performances and picking up, I do believe, at last time at his first ever finishing at position at points as well in terms of getting some additional prime points on the board. So he'll be absolutely pleased with that with the Mally Motors driver ahead of Stephen Fry and Scott Malcolm. And there's Andrew Holmes and Craig Tillotson who complete your top 25 ahead of Gabriel Yilmaz with Nigel Stott, Peter Greenwood and Dom Joy completing your standings. Joy yet competing around and therefore no points accrued. But now let's come to the team's championship last but not least, and here we can see it is close at the top with Doble Sim Racing currently on 506 points to the 399 at RD Simsport. Now we say it's close, but some of you may be sitting there going, but that's 107 points. How can it be close? Well, that is the margin of a single round of racing that can very quickly turn things over. In fact, a single race can switch things around. So right now, Doble Sim Racing have definitely given themselves an advantage at the front of the field, but only a little bit of misfortune, and it could all turn tail. With RD Simsport, meanwhile, to look behind them to keep an eye on SRL NXTGEN, who are further 39 points behind, and Semper Racing also in the hunt there, another 18 points off, with NXTGEN Racing Pink complete in the top 5 on 329 points. So the battle for the top 5 spots is definitely close, and the battles are on between the top 5. Outside of the top 5, it's NXTGEN with Sam Cases, P6 on 232 points. They really lead the rest of the field in the hunt for the top 5 positions ahead of Full Tilt B Motorsport and Jodo Motorsports. They're separated by only 2 points, and there's a further 20 to iRacing Esports with Affinity in at P10 on 147. And then coming outside the top 10, Bester SP11, it's Goldwing Motorsport on 144. They hold quite a significant advantage over Performance Link Esports with Aztec Racing at Brammer Esports and Sergi Sim Racing completing your top 15. And it's Whiskey Runners Racing P16 ahead of P739 Motorsports, whose misfortune last time out at the Circuit of the Americas. They'll be looking not to experience that again and gain some more points than the 6 they currently have. Therefore, Clear Crest Autosport, and then completing the standings there, Mally Motors and FR20 Sim Racing have yet to score any points in the team's championship. Will they do so today? That's the question. But coming from our standings then, let's talk a little bit about our circuit for today, and it's the Grand Prix layout of the Autódromo José Carlos Pace. Located in the suburb of Interlagos in the city of São Paulo, Brazil, the capital city of the country, as we can see here from the circuit map provided to us by iRacing.com, and thank you to them for their wonderful simulator and the brilliant track maps that come with it. This circuit is absolutely brimming with corners, and it weaves and winds its way around the local hilly terrain. A two-dimensional circuit map doesn't quite explain that, and you'll have to see it in person very shortly in order to be able to appreciate the terrain change, indeed the undulations and elevation changes. But the key theme about this circuit is firstly about how tiny it is on both driver and engine, with the fact our drivers here will have to deal with a circuit is counterclockwise, and therefore the majority of the corners being left-handers, something they're perhaps not used to, and the majority of the circuits we see on the NXTCC calendar typically being clockwise circuits, packed more with right-handers than left-handers. And secondly, with the number of uphill acceleration zones at this circuit, particularly in the run out of turn 4 all the way out towards turn 6 and 7, and also the run coming out of turn number 9 in towards 10, and the run out of Junsao corner at turn number 12 all the way to the start-finish line. It does mean around here that success bars will have a huge impact on the weight of the car and the ability of the engine to be able to push the car forward and up the hill, and that could lead to quite a bit of strain on the engine, and with it, potentially some drivers losing out in the acceleration stakes. But as they roar their way around here and charge their way in towards turn number 1, into the infamous Senna S, the chicane there, named after the infamous Brazilian driver, they'll make their way through the left into right before charging through the Curva del Sol and on towards the Reta Aposta straight. Making their way down towards turn number 4, it'll be battle under braking into left-hander, and as they make their way through the off-camber corner, it's the sweep through the Delago corner and up towards turns 6 and 7 as they make their way through Ferradura and into the Curva de Longia. And as they make their way through the double right-hander, looking to now the apexes, they'll head into the first of a number of hairpins at turn number 8. We can expect some battling there under braking. When they come out to left-hander at Pinheiro, looks like a corner we can make an overtaking move, but if you go too wide through there, you're going to be significantly off the pace as both drivers will find themselves offline. And staying ahead, they'll make their way into the Bico de Pato at turn number 10, the tightest corner and the slightest corner on the circuit, and the hairpin we can expect 2, perhaps even 3 wide under the most intense of battles, before they make their way from Magula at turn number 11, the off-camber sweeping left-hander to mimic in a way turn number 4, albeit with building speed and a much higher apex speed by comparison, and then they'll come down to the corner that makes or breaks the end of lap, just out turn number 12, where it's all about getting back to full throttle as soon as possible on corner exit, and then charging away through turns 13, 14 and 15, flat out all the way to the start-finish line to do it all over again. And what a circuit it's going to be, and indeed this circuit, no stranger to dramatic moments in championship battles, perhaps most infamously, of course, the 2008 Formula 1 World Championship with the Is That Glock moment at the end of the season that saw Lewis Hamilton become champion. But as we come on to our rules for today, just to remind you, this is a fixed setup series, setups provided to drivers ahead of each and every round by the NXTGEN Racing Stewarding team. Driver classes shall be finalised as the conclusion of round 3, so after today we will be finalising the driver classes, and we are likely to see some driver class changes. They are currently being discussed by the stewarding team, and of course it's subject to review of results from today. We're making sure to hold any judgments until the end of rounds 1, 2 and 3 as a complete set, so that way you can make the best possible evaluation of drivers who may need to be promoted or demoted. We do have 2 class changes on the grid today, and we will come on to those very shortly. Sprint race wise, the race 1 grid shall be set based on results of qualifying, that's a given. The race 2 grid meanwhile shall be a reverse grid based on results of race number 1, with the reversal position being drawn live from between P6 and P12 from the commentary booth, and then in race number 3 we'll see the grid being set as a reverse grid based on results of race number 2, but the reversal position will be increased from a potential poor P13 through to P23. Again, drawn live from the commentary booth just before the race. Each driver shall have 1 fast repair available in each race, and each race shall conclude after either the allotted lap amount or 30 minutes, whichever is the greater, but we are expecting the 12-lap races to last approximately 20 minutes, and only if we need the safety car will we see the race push up towards the 30-minute mark, after which it must end. Now, as for race stewarding, an independent race director will be stewarding the races for track limit infringements and the deployment of the safety car, and with those track limit infringements, our drivers will get 2 warnings before they start to pick up penalties, and on the 3rd warning it will be a 5-second post-race time penalty, a double to 10 on the 4th warning, and on the 5th warning it's a drive-through penalty that must be served within 3 laps. Meanwhile, racing incidents between drivers must be reviewed post-round, and as we then come on to the big theme, of course, this season, and success balance, which is applied on the race-by-race basis both to the overall Drivers' Championship and also the Prime Class Drivers' Championship. And for qualifying in race number 1, it will be taken based on the championship standings prior to this round, which we showed you previously. And then in races 2 and 3, we'll be updating the success balance based on the finishing positions of races 1 and 2 that preceded them. And to remind you of how that success balance looks, as we can see here on the tables, in the overall championship and the overall finishing positions, 1st through to 10th, we'll be taking 56.1 kilograms all the way through to 4.7 kilograms, and that 56.1 kilograms is going to be felt massively by Joseph Doble to kick off today. There's no doubt about that. We'll be interested to see how he performs in qualifying. And in the Prime Class, we can see it's 1st through to 5th place with 32.5 kilograms awaiting our leader. Meanwhile, 4.7 kilograms awaiting our 5th place driver there. And that 32.5 kilograms will definitely be felt by Isaac Doble going into qualifying in race number 1. But that's enough rules. That's enough regulation. You're here for the racing, and so are we. As we look back to our live pictures, ladies and gentlemen, we do look to none other than Russell Fowler as he makes his way on around here in the Performance Link Esports Audi RS3. And from speaking to a few drivers down the paddock, many of them have been saying that the Audi is the car to beat here, in the fact that its gearing does seem to go very well with the Interlagos circuit. So could this be a big day for the Audi drivers such as Russell Fowler from Performance Link Esports, who haven't been shifted up to the Pro Class at the start of this season? Definitely started to make a name for himself in the Pro Class, a positive one at that, getting stuck into the fight for the top 15 finishing positions, and therefore he'll be looking to try and push towards the top 10 today, currently P14, as he makes his way in towards turn number 12. We make our way on. Alright, so take a look at the chat. And we do say hello to a good number of you there in the respective chats, including in the YouTube to Alan Loof, who says let's go, and let's go indeed. No doubt about it there, Alan. Glad to have you on board with us. We see Andrew Pike there saying no, the Sim Racing Collective, no party. And indeed, we are missing the Sim Racing Collective on the teams this season. Albeit, you do have a little bit of a spirit of the Sim Racing Collective in the form of this man, John Higgins Jr., in the number 5 at Veloster. He's racing for the Sim Racing Collective, and therefore we're very keen to see how he gets on as he winds his way on through the left hand there of turn number 11 into 12. But I do believe as he comes weaving and winding through his way through the corners. Right now, John Higgins Jr. all getting himself set and ready to go. And I do believe he's racing for the Sam Case's NXTGEN team this season. But we've just got a little nod there in the bottom left-hand corner there. He is part of the Sim Racing Collective. It was last season because we couldn't quite have a bit of NXTCC without the TSRC team. And I hope you're doing well, Andrew. We'll also say hello in the Twitch there to Rose Gomez, 120. We'll say hello to Ryan Walker there. Good evening to you, Ryan. fan. I hope you're doing well. And also, Handsome Stuart says, no stairway denied. And we also say hello to Toxic Munchkin, who says, come on, SRL lads, in reference there to the SRL Next Gen drivers, including what is Adam Delmont. And here he is in the SRL Next Gen at 77 car as he makes his way on through and getting himself all set and ready to go, and eagerly now awaiting going racing. No question about it as he makes his way on through the corners here. Only a little bit of time remaining now before we do go into what will be our qualifying session. And I think he and many drivers now all chomping at the bit and feeling as though it is time to get set and ready to go on full attack on their first ever laps under what is race conditions or qualifying conditions, if you will. And well, we'll have to wait and see how those lap times plan. We do apologise if the overlay is refreshing every so often. Don't worry, don't adjust your TV or your PC screen. That's on our end, not on your end. We are just loading a small bit of driver's data in the background, and that refreshing of the overlay will very shortly stop occurring anymore. And indeed, it'll be absolutely static for the remainder of today. But as we say hello to John Meredith there in the YouTube chat as well, cheering on son Alex Meredith, and well, as we do look to Luke Jones, he makes his way on around here. Everybody absolutely set and ready to go racing now, and well, everything's in position. 10 seconds remain on the clock, ladies and gentlemen. It's a lovely day here today in Brazil, and with a lovely day, that does mean it's a very warm circuit. Indeed, in these practice conditions right now, we are looking at a track temperature just shy of 50 degrees centigrade. Let's wait and see what it's going to be when we go into qualifying. Some drivers were reporting in practice sessions earlier this week they were seeing 60 degrees almost on the circuit, and that is a scorcher. And well, as we head into qualifying, let's explain why that can have a huge effect on the racing today. As 15 minutes starts to count down, who's going to be on pole? Let's find out. So as all drivers make the way out the pit lane as rapidly as possible here, Benjamin McCluskey being the first to leave the pits there, having the opportunity to leave it at the very end of the pit lane. Why will track temperature be such a big factor here, I hear you ask? Well, as we do look to the right hand side of the screen, you'll notice there, we can show on the overlay, the track temperature is currently 44 degrees centigrade. We've had quite a bit of cloud come over the circuit since the transition from practice to qualifying, and our ambient temperature staying stationary at 29 degrees centigrade. Well, the thing about this is we normally see higher track temperatures means slower lap times, and in return it also means that the potential rate of tyre wear or tyre degradation is higher over the course of individual laps, and that's because the tyre is getting hotter and hotter with increased track temperature, and therefore the warmer the tyre, the more likely it's going to wear itself down at a more aggressive rate. And particularly if you drive the car aggressively, well, that's only going to add to the situation whereby you'll start to overheat the tyre, and when you overheat the tyre you'll start to lose the natural grip available to the tyre, but you also lose tyre life. Now, for our drivers on a single qualifying lap, that's perhaps not going to matter as much, albeit they'll want to try and embed the tyre gradually over the warm-up lap, and then their first flying laps, the second flying lap and the third flying lap that follow when they've got less fuel in the car and the tyres are in the ideal temperature window. That's when you get the best potential lap times. So you can mitigate that, you can work around those track temperatures in qualifying. But when you go racing, however, that's when it takes a different perspective, because of the fact that when you do go racing, you don't get the opportunity to normally calm the car down. If anything, you're constantly pushing as close as possible towards 100%. Add to the equation as well the fact that as you go deeper and deeper into the race, you use up tyre life, and therefore the tyre starts to wear down, the grip available is less. But because the tyre degradation rate will be higher by default, because you've got a higher track temperature, it means that cars start to lose their front tyres much more aggressively. And in particular, as we always reference, it's the Hyundai Elantra drivers who you've got to watch out for, because they're the ones who do normally see the highest rate of tyre wear on the front tyres. And here's an example of one of our Elantra drivers, Sam Smith, as he makes his way on through Magulo at turn at number 11. The Elantra being the fastest car over the race distance in the early stages we've typically seen, but once it gets towards that final 25% of the race, the front tyres really start to wear down, and in increasing track temperatures, particularly above 40 degrees centigrade, that is where the Elantra struggles, and that could mean that our Elantra drivers today have either got to make a choice of using that outright pace advantage early on in the race, or they have to try and back the car off and balance that tyre degradation over the entirety of the race distance. And it's not a nice place to be when you know your tyres are going to be the worst of everybody's come the end of the race, unless you put in a lot of mitigating work. Meanwhile, at the other end of the spectrum, we normally do see the Honda Civics, such as here, being piloted by Ian Maz in the 52 for JW Motorsport, with the pink rims there and also the pink door number, in case you missed the car, as he makes his way on down through turns 1 and 2. The Honda normally takes the longest to get its tyres into the ideal operating window, normally the best part of the opening 25 to 40% of the race distance, but once it's there, it doesn't leave that window, and it's a car you can push very aggressively. But the downside of this car, of course, is the fact it doesn't have the straight line speed of its rivals, particularly the Elantra and also the Audi, so therefore you've got to be bolder on the brakes, which the Honda is the cornering and the braking car. So therefore you have to really take a risk versus reward approach in Honda, which is you've got to go all in order to make things happen. as he makes his way on through turn number 4 and 5 and up towards 6 he goes. All right now, man is coming through the right-hander and getting himself set on his first line. That following Paul Scott on around, and will Paul Scott meanwhile in the Audi RS3, the car that is very strong on the straights given its gear ratios and could go very well uphill today as well given how snappy that gearbox is, and therefore we are expecting the Audis to really deliver well. And as he makes his way on through turn number 9 up towards 10, we'll see the first lap times for our Audi drivers coming through indeed for all the drives very shortly. And you see that on the circuit map in the top right corner of your screen just how clustered together everybody is right now. A couple of drivers opting to give themselves some space, but the majority trying to run in the tow or with another pack of cars, whether it be teammates or rivals, in order to get a little bit of slipstream. And who can blame them? Every 10th matters around here, and a slipstream will go very well down the Retro Posto and also on the run out of what is turn number 12 at Junsao all the way towards the start finish line, as we are seeing here for Paul Scott, and that can be worth the best part of 3 to 4 attempts over the entirety of the lap. So as he makes his way on through turn number 14 up towards 15, we're going to follow Paul Scott all the way to the line. And he pulls off racing line and brings the car over to the right-hand side, and you'll know if it drives on a good qualifying lap, they'll keep the car over to the left as they make their way through the final kink onto the start-finish straight, and they'll get as close as possible towards the pit wall to shorten the distance to the timeline. But it's for his first lap, it's 45.526 for Paul Scott, P14. Not a bad lap, and in fact puts him P5 in the Prime class immediately, and that could bode well for a little bit later on. But meanwhile, we look to the man who's the fastest out there at the moment, and it is an Audi driver. It's Gavin Gardner, 44.759. And do keep in mind that Gardner's not currently running any success ballast in the car. He was outside the top 10 overall going into this round. So therefore, you are seeing Gardner at the true pace and potential that he's able to take out of the car here. And we do look forward to seeing how Gardner can raise that bar potentially. But at the same time, we see Paul Zanatachi right now in at the Hyundai Veloster, flashing his lights. We see at one of the Doble brothers there. I do believe that may have been Joseph Doble stepping aside in order that Zanatachi come on through. But as we do watch the Affinity driver making his way out of turn at number 12, the final major corner of the circuit, we've got a bit of a tow in front of him here as he's following cars on through. Can he find a way to improve further, or will he be staying Peters? Benjamin McCluskey raises the bar to 44.216. That's half a second or so faster than everyone else, but immediately Jamie Dorian and Alex Meredith leave the way out to P2, P3 respectively as they all come across lines. Those lap times are coming down very fast, much like prices in Black Friday. Some Black Friday sales coming up this Friday, ladies and gentlemen, just in case you're keeping your eyes out for them, of course. But right now, drivers' attention won't be on sales. They will be on putting in stellar qualifying. That's and Paul Zanatachi goes P3 there, almost 3/10 off of Luciano Vidford's lap, and well, the Brabham Esports driver leaving it a little bit late in the session to get his first best time on the board. But what a way to do it at 44.055. I think a 43 is going to be on the cards here, and it could be a pole lap around here. Will be about 43.8 from the very best of our drivers on this grid. Meanwhile, in at the Prime class currently, it's Alex Meredith. As we do say hello there to Catherine Meredith in the YouTube chat, who's cheering on and wishing everyone the best luck. I can imagine it might have a soft spot for her son in particular. Indeed, the Meredith family all tuned in for this man right now, and who can blame them? Number 44 driver here for RD Simsport, looking to give it everything and follow up on what was an absolutely stellar day of racing last time out at the Circuit of the Americas. But right now he's been pushed down slightly to P11, with Paul Scott taking at that pro and provisional pole, 3.5 tenths of a pole, and then Meredith a further 2 tenths of it right now. But it's all swings and roundabouts here. And I think for Meredith, if he can't get himself on pole, he'll look to do damage limitation, which is to try and get himself as far at the order as possible in qualifying, and therefore guarantee himself a spot on the prime podium when we do go racing, or give himself the best possible chance. But as he makes his way on out the final corner here and onwards towards the start-finish line, we're very shortly going to get on board with one of our drivers, and it will be Benjamin McCluskey, in fact, who we're going to jump on board with here as he makes his way on through. He keeps going to the left-hand side initially, but as he makes his way up towards turn number 1, you'll notice he brings the cover to the right-hand side. Let's go around in the Veloster. So braking at the 50-metre board all the way down to what is second gear as he rides the apex curve at turn number 1, keeps going to the left for turn 2 and turns in sharply to the right-hander. Coming into turn number 3, it's all about gliding from apex curve to apex curve as he hooks the car up on the Cover del Sol apex, and as he makes his way out of turn number 3, flat out every step of the way now as he makes his way down towards turn number 4 on the Retro Posta. Has a pretty free, but looks to his right side of his brake market. It's the 100-metre board that you use, and braking about 85 metres of corner apex down to second gear. A little bit of braking oversteer there as he came on in and lets the car run out wide with the off-camber nature of the corner to carry the speed. Through turn number 5 he goes, and now uphill he begins his descent in towards turn 6 and 7. Bring the car over to the left and brake where there's no marker. You're braking about 100 metres from corner apex, but notice here, gets the throttle on slightly and then holds off the throttle to take the second apex at turn number 7, while letting the car drift out to left. Onto the brakes now, about 75 metres from corner apex at turn at number 8, down to first gear, and bring the car immediately onto the apex at turn number 9, hook it, wait for it, wait for it, wait for it, and bring the power back in now as he makes his way out the left hand and up towards turn number 10. Now bringing the car over to the left here to brake into the slightest corner of the circuit, down to first gear at the apex, 48 miles an hour as he exits out and swings the car slightly over to the right before turning into Magula at turn number 11, riding that apex curve once again and heading in towards turn number 12. And here he'll use the runoff area to open up to the south corner, turn in nice and late and get that apex hooked up before getting back on the power, second gear, and now he'll just accelerate up the hill and put his faith in the power of the green engine as he makes his way through the double left to turn number 13 and 14. Taking plenty of apex curve there at 14. You don't want to take too much, guys, that will slow you down to a degree. As McCluskey brings it on through, will he keep it over to the left? He's improved in the second half of the lap, there's no doubt about it. Well, he does at first, but he lets the car drift out slightly, so I think he feels there's a lot more time out there. When he was 4 tenths off, he stays 4 tenths off and improves by 1,000 to a 44.215. So McCluskey finding time, but only in small margins right now. And he'll be looking for plenty more as William Guthrie, meanwhile, goes P6 on a 44.183. But as I try to continue to push on here, we meanwhile look at some drivers who are not quite on the pace right now, including Joseph Doble. And well, that weight definitely being felt, that success balance of 56 kilograms. Holding back your championship leader with the fact he's currently 1.132 seconds off of the pole time in P30. And well, when you say it's 1.1 seconds off, you'd expect there's a problem with the car, but no, that's the success balance and what it does to the car. And we talked about earlier the fact we are expecting that weight to really be felt in the acceleration zones when you're going uphill, and there are so many uphill acceleration zones at this Interlagos circuit, and that is why Joseph Doble is so far down. But of course, after race number 1, he will shed that weight if he finishes outside the top 10 overall. So therefore, what he's got to be thinking about is it's not necessarily about winning race 1, race 2 and race 3. It's about maximising the points over the 3 races, and that's why we have the success bars in effect from qualifying through to race number 1 and then race 2 and race 3. It's adjusted in order to make sure that drivers can't essentially gamble or bet themselves on winning particular races and therefore find a way to game the ballast system. And indeed it means that for every driver you've got to be on point from race to race within a given round in order to get the maximum possible points to become champion at the end of the season. But he makes his way through turn number 6 into 7 here. Right now tucking into the toe of Matthew Addy, and Matthew Addy as well not having a stellar start to qualifying today, it would seem. Currently sat down in what is there, I do believe, P34 as he runs very deep offline, coming out of 8 to 9. That's cost him the run out the corner, and with it means he goes to the grass now as he does let Joseph Doble and also Callum Jenkins on through. But Addy out of sorts there, and definitely right now not enjoying this Interlagos circuit as much as he would like. I think it might be a bit of a day from coming from the back of the field for Addy, but you never know what the Sam Case of the next gen drive might be able to do in the closing stages of this qualifying session. But I think definitely feeling as though right now things and times are not on his side, as meanwhile we do have a few drivers yet to get a lap on the board, including Callum Jenkins as the Aztec Racing driver makes his way on through. Dan Mould as well yet to get a time on the board and immediately jumps up to P4 as he crosses the timeline of 44.052. Well, the current pole lap is set by Semper Racing. It's Jazz Sabula on a 43.8 precisely, and that is 1.5 tenths faster than Daniel Martin. So Sabula right now on course for his first pole position of the season. And meanwhile, Callum Jenkins crosses the line. It's not a bad lap. He'll go on to another one here. He's still looking for that time out there in the Honda Civic Type R, and leaving it quite late in the day, and he won't want to leave it too much later as always the pressure is going to be on. But I have to wait and see what the number 19 driver is able to do. But meanwhile, we mentioned his name and let's take a look at him. And here is your current provisional pole sitter of Sabula in the all-white Veloster as he makes his way in towards turn number 4. And the Semper Racing driver right now hooked up behind one of the Goldwing Motorsport machines. I do believe that might be the car there, unless I'm very much mistaken, of Duncan Moraes as they make the way uphill. But you can see Sabula backing off, lifting off the throttle and keeping the car well off the racing line. But behind, that's why Jigsaw Dodge, and I think the Semper Racing drivers are trying to work their way. They're trying to make it a 1-2 here for the team. Now, do keep in mind that Sweardich does have a sizable amount of success ballast in that car. He's in the P4 position in the championship, so therefore he does have close to the best part of what is about 32 kilograms of success ballast, if my memory does serve me correctly. And with that, by now Sabula, I think, deciding he's going to back out of his qualifying laps. He feels though he's done enough to get on pole, and he'll be trying now to help Sweardich get that alongside him on what will be that front row to make it a lockout and potentially make it a 1-2 in the first race of the day. Well, will they be able to do it? That will be the challenge that confronts them, as meanwhile they both decide to ride the circuit there. They're trying to set this up, and who can blame them for doing this? It's all fair, to be fair. So as long as they don't impede any other drivers, they are permitted to do this as they make their way in towards turn at number 12. And that's the teamwork element of this series now coming into effect. But meanwhile, as we look to from them getting ready to go onto a flying lap, we do look to Russell Fowler, who's being cheered on there by Triseng 0507. That's Tristan Engelgard, a staple of Performance Link Esports. You may remember him from the Proto GT3 Championship that recently concluded at NXTGEN, and indeed a driver who gave it everything. In fact, it wasn't the Proto GT3 Championship, it was the GT3 Championship. Now my memory is coming back to me, but he makes way through turn number 4, runs a bit wide there, does Russell Fowler, and as he comes out of the corner, he's currently P20. He'll be looking for a bit more before all is said and done, but do keep in mind, when we say he's only in P20, he is 5.5 attempts off a pole position right now. Indeed, you've got to consider that the top 29 separated by practically a second from Luke Jones in P29 to Jaroslav Sabula in P1, and therefore he could not be closer in this series, and that is why qualifying becomes so important. And indeed, if you gain a 10th on a given lap, if Fowler was to gain the 10th right now, that would push him all the way up to P12 immediately. It would be 8 places gained. It could not be tied to here at Interlagos as he makes his way on through turn number 10 and in towards 11. It's a recurring theme of qualifying whereby the field is so tightly packed together and everybody right now pushing to try and find that extra 10th, that extra 100th, that extra 1,000th that may see them move one order up the grid or indeed an entire row, as we do see the Audi driver making his way out of turn number 12, and then we're going to on to his final flying lap very shortly, with the fact we've only got a minute left on the clock, not too long left in this qualifying session, and will he be able to find that last little bit of time? We'll have to say as he heads onwards towards the line. And meanwhile, Fraser Elphick also coming up through here for SRL NXTGEN, and we look forward to seeing what Elphick's been able to do. He's currently P19, tucked in there to Mikey Dole's toe as they head up towards the line, and Fraser Elphick, one of those drivers as well. We're definitely keeping our eyes on this season. He's been putting in some great performances so far on a race-by-race basis. Can he go a little bit further today? I think he might have to do it all in the race. 20 seconds left on the clock, and when our drivers do see the clock strike 15 minutes, if they're on the lap, they're allowed to finish it, but if they're not, they have to come into the pits, and as they make the way onwards towards turn number 1 here, which is going to be very close. They've got Lee Horn just in front of them as well, the Prime champion from season 4, of course, racing in the Pro class now, as they make the way on around turns 1, 2 and 3, and as the Sam Case's driver there makes his way out of the corner in the Honda Civic, a nice run off the corner, and powering his way down towards turn number 4 now. I mean, he's bought himself just enough breathing room not to be worried about the cars approaching from behind, but remember, he has the right to dictate. If he's on a flying lap, he'll be the one who dictates the pace of the drivers, not the drivers behind. But from them, one driver coming to the line very shortly is, I do believe, none other than, I think it's Jay Clay, who's just recently crossed the line, and therefore that will be his qualifying session done and dusted. But we continue to look at Lee Horn here as he makes his way on around, and as he does so, well, can Horn find a way to move higher from P23? Not the best position to be down that 12th row of the grid, but still he's giving it everything. All the drivers most definitely are. But meanwhile, drivers coming towards the line. This is Ben Altrier, your 3rd place Pro-Am Championship driver right now, currently P4 in class, P17 overall. He's been using the tow there while the RD Simsport cars, I believe that might be the car of what is, well, goodness me, he's going to come in. That was Martin Shirley you saw, but Ben Altrier comes into pits. Martin Shirley comes to the line, and neither driver improving there. And meanwhile, in the rear of the picture, that is, I believe, Isaac Doble. He's currently P28, the Prime Championship leader. He doesn't improve. That's where we'll be starting at best. More drivers starting to make their way to the line. Jamie Dory limping along there, and I think trying to steer clear of all the drivers because he can't come into the pit lane as of yet. So Dory not improving. Dan Mould does not improve. Neither does Gavin Gardner. So right now, a lot of drivers out there, but they're not finding any more time. Paul Scott's your current pole sitter in the Prime class. Will he be able to maintain it here and take his first ever Prime pole position in his NXTCC career? We're about to see as Fraser Elphick goes P13, but meanwhile, as Paul Scott comes on in, he's decided enough's enough. White Tricks would across the line, and it is going to be a 1-2 for Semper Race, and the teamwork has been made to work. Jaroslav Zabula takes pole and improves in the process to a 43.778, and Spiridovich P2 now. Can anybody spring any late surprises here? Well, as we do see Alan McCain winding down, he's currently P2 Prime, and that'll be his qualifying session done, but I think that's it, ladies and gentlemen. Indeed, the only driver out there right now is Jay Calais, and he's on a cool-down lap, and he comes on in. We've also got them making his way into the pit lane, I do believe, behind. That was the car. Well, I believe that was one of our Prime Elantra drivers. Couldn't quite discern who that was. And Mark Sykes at the cooldown, so that does mean qualifying is done and dusted here in Brazil. It's Jaroslav Sabula who takes his first pole position of the season, and it's a Semper Race in 1-2, with Sabula ahead of Swirodowicz, with then Daniel Martin and William Guthrie line up on row number 2, and Gavin Garner and Dan Mulder on row number 3. That's your top 6. Meanwhile, Prime pole is going to go to P14 overall driver of Paul Scott, who takes his first ever NXTCC Prime pole position, and he'll have Alan McCain just slightly 2 places behind him, his best ever qualifying as well. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to head to the grid for race number 1. So as our drivers get set, this is how they line up for race number 1 of round 3 of season 5 of the NXTCC, powered by IMB Racewear. It's Jan Savstabilo who starts on pole position for a 1-2 for Semper Racing with teammate Wojciech Swierdowicz alongside. Daniel Martin starts P3 for RD Simsport on the second row, joined by William Guthrie for Full Tilt V Mersport, with Gavin Garner starting off our third row for NXTGEN Racing Pink, joined by SRL NXTGEN's Dan Mould. On row number 4, it's Brabham Esports' Luciano Vitford with Jamie Dory for NXTGEN Pink, and then completing at the top 10, it is Nick Clemens for iRacing Esports and Mikey Doble for Doble Sim Racing. Benjamin McCuskey starts P11 Best of Rest for NXTGEN Pink, joined on that row by iRacing Esports' Sam Smith, and on row number 7 it's Fraser Elphick for SRL NXTGEN, and your prime pole sitter NXTGEN with Sam Cases, Paul Scott. On row number 8 it's John Higgins Jr. for NXTGEN with Sam Cases, joined by Alan McCain for iRacing Esports, and then we see Daniel Dannon for Goldwing Motorsport starting P17, joined by the prime Ben Altrier for Full Tilt Me Motorsport on row number 9. The top 20 is completed by Paul Zanatachi for Affinity and Ian Manners for JW Motorsport. Now on row number 11 it's Russell Fowler for Performance Link Esports, joined in company by Reese Watt there for JW Motorsport, with row 12 going to Lee Horn for NXTGEN with Sam Cases and Martin Shirley for RD Simsport. And then on row number 13 it's Alex Meredith for RD Simsport and Luke Jones for JW Motorsport. On row 14 going to the pair of Adam Delman for SRL NXTGEN and Isaac Doble for Doble Sim Racing, and your top 30 being completed by Jay Calais, the Privateer, and Duncan Moraes for Goldwing Motorsport. Behind them on row number 16 in his weakest qualifying session today, Rafael Zasht in what is Semper Racing's P31 ahead of Sam Van Ols for Goldwing Motorsport, and then on the 17th row it's Matthew Sheraton for Aztec Racing and Stephen Fry for P739 Motorsports. On row number 18 it's Joseph Doble for Doble Sim Racing and Matthew Addy for NXTGEN with Sam Cases, and then on row number 19 it will be what is there Mark Sykes for NXTGEN with Sam Case and James Mansfield for Aztec Racing. Craig Tiddleston, George Watson complete your top 40 ahead of Peter Greenwood and Callum Jenkins. It's an Ian Wood and Jake Pitt followed by Harley Bicknell to complete the grid, and with that, ladies and gentlemen, it's just time for the lights. This is 1 red light, 2 red lights, 3 red lights, 4 red lights, 5 red lights, and it's lights out, and away we go for our first race of the day. Jan Savstabilo and Wojciech Swierdowicz trying to hold a 1-2 in the run down towards turn number 1. It looks as though it's going to be Swierdowicz who gets the slightly weaker start by comparison. Look at Daniel Martin looking around the outside as they make the way into the opening corner, and as they wind their way through, the drivers here making their way through the corners in rapid fire succession, as also there is William Guthrie trying to go on the offensive versus Gardner and getting it successfully done. More drivers further behind, there's Paul Scott gaining ground early on, and then meanwhile behind we do have a bit of a scrap here going on between Adam Delman, Russell Fowler and Martin Shirley as they all make their way down towards turn number 4, but as they do so, drivers coming roaring on down now into the first major overtaking zone, and it is going to be side by side there between Gavin Garner and what is Jamie Doyle and William Guthrie, albeit Garner more of a spectator at this point as they make their way through turns 4 and 5 and up towards 6 they charge, but as they do behind, look at Mikey Doble not really gaining or losing any places, but yes, Sam Smith for company around the outside as they go through turn 6 and 7 is, but Smith back it off. Meanwhile Vitford trying to look around the outside and Nick Clibbins, with Vitford losing 2 places at the start of this race. Clibbins on the inside getting a little bit caught up in the concertina behind Dan Mould, and as they make the way down and coming in towards turn number 9 it's going to be Mikey Doyle on the outside. That's going to cost him very dear. On that outside line as now it'll be Sam Smith who gets the run to the outside of turn number 10. As they come into turn number 10 now, onto the brakes they both go. 2 wide into the apex, but only 1 emerges in front, and that's Doble once again, as Vitford gets a poor run by comparison, coming out of 10 in towards 11, but no move potentially being made there. Meanwhile, a bit further back, Russell Fowler still under pressure from Ben Altrier and Adam Delman behind, and Delman here having to scrap with the prime driver as the pro looks to try and hold around the outside of Jinsao corner. Oh, goodness me, and it's all gone wrong between us. They all come together in the stockade, but as they do, it's a disaster for Russell Fowler, but meanwhile, everyone else is able to carry on their merry way up the hill, but this is going to lead to a huge number of cars coming together in short notice in the battle for what will be P21. P22 I should say, has been all treated under pressure from where is Alex Meredith and also Isaac Doble as they come through. And as they make the way down, Mark Sykes into the pits there. I believe that may be a penalty for a jump start. We'll have to wait and see, but as they come down to the braking zone, it's 2, 3, 4 abreast as they all come on down, and there Sam Van Ol's being squeezed between 3 drivers, including Jay Clay, Isaac Doe and Adam Delman, and having to back out of the Goldwing Motorsport driver, knowing exactly when to back out of the fight. But as they come down through turn number 3 and up towards 4, Sam Van Ol's there holding position ahead of Isaac Doe, and Jay Clay still watching on from behind as they look to scrap down towards turn number 4. Rafael Zarch as well looking to get involved here. You can see the Semper Racing Honda Civic Type on the left of your picture in amongst the pack. Meanwhile, we do have there one of the Aztec Racing Hondas. That's James Francisco looking for a potential move on Zarch and also Doble, with Joseph Doble there going up the inside of Zarch Zash coming through turns 4 and 5. Up towards 6 they go. It's a drag race uphill now. And will we see the fortunes reversed in the favour of the Honda drivers? They head into towards the braking zone. Well, right now Zash still there. And as they come on through and onwards towards turn number 6 and 7 they go. In towards 8 in fact now, and onto the brakes is going to be Joseph Dell around the outside, having to use the way of the car. Meanwhile, a bit of a heavy bump there between James Gale and his teammate George Watson as the Audi driver rubbing some paint with him. But as they make the way on through the corners, meanwhile, we look from them back up towards the front of the field. And here's your top three after what is almost 2 laps of racing, ladies and gentlemen. And right now, Jaroslav Sabula still holding on ahead of Wojciech Swierdowicz with Daniel Martin P3 as they roar their way through. And indeed, right now, breaking away with William Guthrie P4 and a sizable gap between Guthrie and Gardner as well. So it does seem as though that early batting has enabled the top 3 to creep off into the distance. And as they charge away onto lap number 3, let's give you a recall of that top 10. It's Sabula ahead of Swierdowicz, followed by Martin. Then you have Guthrie P4 ahead of Gardner P5, Mold P6, Dory P7. And right now, Gardner under huge pressure on Mold as they make the way on down. It's going to be Mold looking around the outside for SRL Next Gen. Can he find it? No, he can't. Instead, he's got Dory now rubbing on his rear bumper as they wind their way down the hill. And as we ride on board with Dan Mold coming out of the left-hander of the Curva del Sol very shortly. Right now in the tow, and the number 80 driver here eager to try and make a move, but that Audi's so strong on its gears that as a result, you can see here they've lost it. It huffs and puffs, but the Audi's just got a bit more grunt by comparison in these straight line runs. They make the way in towards turn number 4. Onto the brakes they go. Mold taking a much tighter apex here, really trying to carry the speed as he gets a better run out the corner, and Garner looking vulnerable here as they make the way up the hill in towards turn 6. But now he's going to be made to look around the outside as they head in towards the trail braking zone here, and as they do, Mold squeezing Garner as much as possible in his legal right, trying to compromise Garner's line. Garner trying to get his elbows out there to give one other racing room. Love to see it as they head in towards turn number 8, and Mold being made to look around the outside to inside of 9. He'll get the car back in, but look at Dory who sees the space on the inside of 8 that Mold had to give for Gardner. And as they come out of the corner and towards turn number 10, meanwhile Clibbins also getting involved from behind, but it's Dory along the inside now. Mold coming into the hairpin, but he can't quite get it done there. Mold using the camber of the road in order to carry the speed around the outside to the inside of 11. These two will be too wide heading towards Jun Sao. You see Dory backing out there, conscious of the fact that they continue to fight too wide. They're only going to lose Gardner, and in return they're going to give Clibbins and Whitford all the opportunity to get involved in this fight as they make the way at 12 and up towards 13, 14, 15. But they're a little bit run wide from Mold. That's going to cost him 1 to 2 miles now on the exit. And that's going to give Dory all the time he needs to get alongside here. Will be a success, but hindering both drivers. They make the way up towards turn at number 1. It's a lap number 4. They'll go very shortly. And behind Dory, it is Clibbins, Whitford, Smith that completes your top 10 with Mikey Doe P11 currently, and Paul Scott still your prime leader P14 overall. But meanwhile, 3 wide as they head down. Dory on the inside, Whitford in the middle. Whitford backs out there as it is Mold who holds the outside line. As they all coming down, everybody's serpentining off their rear bumpers as we ride on board and look back from the rear of the SRI Next Gen car. And right now Dan Mold really having to dig in deep here in order to hold on to P6. Garner's got a gap of 7/10 now as they make the way down the Retro Aposta for the 4th time of asking. You can see there Dory having to go just as defensive as Clibbins, and Clibbins they're looking up the inside, and Clibbins under some significant pressure from what is Whitford behind. And also you do have Mikey Doe who's just found his way past Smith again in that battle for P10. Well, these guys right now leaving nothing to chance as they make the way on through. But it would be rude of us not to consider the rest of the field as well further on down. And meanwhile, we look to Fraser Elphick, who right now chasing after Zenatachi with Lee Horn behind. And these guys fighting for P18 overall as they make their way through the right hand of Alan McCain just in front. The Pro-Am second place driver keeping it at bay as they all come down to the braking zone here for turn number 8. And that's going to be Horn looking around the outside of Elphick. Can't quite find it as we have had a bit of an instant for a driver just in front. I think that might have been Daniel Martin who's had a bit of a moment. In fact, oh goodness me, and what on earth has happened there? Multiple drivers off. That's Whitford who's looking the wrong way. And I believe as well Benjamin McCluskey being involved in some sort of altercation with Whitford potentially. And we'll have a replay of that very shortly, ladies and gentlemen. And here we go. This explains the story. And in fact, it was a freeway contact there between the drivers, and also Mikey Doe being caught up on turn number 9 and McCluskey. And what is Whitford coming together? McCluskey turning Whitford across the front of his car onto the grass. But I think there's more to that than meets the eye. And can we get a bit of an earlier replay to explain how it all started? We can. And I believe there may have been some contact there between perhaps McCluskey and Mikey Doe. We don't see what starts it off. We just see the midpoint and the end of it. But the 3 drivers fighting hard into turn at number 9. And in the end, one man losing out the most. And that was Luciano Whitford as we see him there waiting to return onto the racing very shortly with all the field coming on through. We're coming from the misfortunes of one and back to the fortunes of those further up the order. We do see as our drivers make the way up towards turn number 4. Once again here, McCluskey back in the battle with Doble again as they head on down. Now these two, of course, having a bit of an altercation on the last lap. They won't want to repeat that as they make the way down. I think Doble getting his elbows out there and saying to McCluskey, you're not coming through whether you like it or not now, as they both run a bit wider out of turn number 4, but they'll be reminded to keep it within track limits as they make the way up towards turn number 6. And as they charge the way up the hill from them, we do look a little bit further down the order. George Watson fighting with Craig Tillotson here, the battle of the Aztec Racing and FR20 Sim Racing drivers. They're for P13, the Pro class, so racing for points here, with Mark Sykes also getting involved. And as they make the way out of turns 4 and 5, which Watson has a slow run out the corner, Tillotson as well, and Sykes is going to do the Moses here. He picks off one. Can he part the season, get both of them? Or as he makes his way in towards turn number 6, it's going to be Tillotson on the inside. Great little scrap between these two for the latter portion of the points of the Pro class, and Sykes gets it done there around the outside through turn 6 and 7 and makes the move count in the 666 machine for P13 in the Prime class. Tillotson and Watson falling back now as they make the way on through it, and Peter Greenwood the next target for Sykes in the P739 Motorsports car, as he comes on through turn number 10 here and running a bit of a lonely race right now, P34 overall. But looking from Peter Greenwood a bit further up the order, we look to James Smatzesgow, who has got company behind him, Matthew Addy, and this is the battle for P31 as they come out of what is turn number 12 here. But Smatzesgow getting a slightly better run there, I think safe for now. But meanwhile, one driver who's not safe as they make the way under braking into turn number 1 is going to be Gavin Garner with Dan Mould right now, getting up the inside and going for P5 here, and I think he's going to make this stick as they come on down. But of course, the thing is, getting ahead through turns 1, 2 and 3 doesn't mean anything if you can't convert it into a position come the run out towards turn number 4, and Mould's going to know exactly that now with Gardner right behind him. 1.5 tenths being the separation of the terms as they make the way down towards the braking zone, the rear of the pitch. You'll see at the top, that's McCluskey versus Doble still, Mikey Doble that is. Mould defend on the inside. Meanwhile, it's going to be McCluskey holding firm. Brake disc absolutely glowing red hot on both of the cars at the rear end, but Mikey Doble going for the cutback, coming out of 4 into 5. They make the way up the hill in towards 6 right now, and it'll now be McCluskey on the inside into the double right-hander, with Mikey Doble having to do it the hard way as they come through the right and up towards turn number 8 they go, and in the end it will be McCluskey who holds the position just about, as meanwhile behind them Paul Zanatachi still fighting with Fraser Elphick and Lee Horn for position as they come through turn number 8 and in towards 9 they go. Horn looking around the outside here and trying to find a way through. He can't quite find it, and now he has for company Daniel Downing as it's 3 wide on the exit, and it's going to be a bit of contact there between Elphick and Horn. There's still 3 wide going into turn number 10, and this is very brave from Downing to go all the way around the outside and see if he can make it happen. But right now the third place prime driver backing out there, 9, not to get too involved. He doesn't want to lose what is a guaranteed podium at this rate, and as they come out of turn number 11 in towards 12, well, right now Downing under the pressure from Adam Delmont. But the Goldwing Motorsport driver here trying to keep down between him and Alex Meredith behind, conscious of the fact that Meredith is inching closer and looking for a spot on that prime podium come the end of the race as we make our way into the second half. But as they make the way onto lap number 7 very shortly, still battling a plenty here. But as we look back inside the top 10, this is the battle for P7 between Jamie Dorian and Sam Smith. Smith on the right of your picture, Dorian on the left of your picture as they break the way into the start of the centre S. It's going to be a move from Smith, and this is one of the strongest performances we've seen from Smith this season so far. He's normally been fighting to try and get into the top 10, but right now firmly inside the top 10 and enjoying the racing as we jump on board with the iRacing eSports driver looking over the bonnet of the car. Right now chasing after Gon. He's got ahead of Dorian. I think he's going to be able to convert this position as they make their way in towards that next braking zone. We are aware there's been a change for the battle for P3. We are going to get to that very shortly, ladies and gentlemen, but right now we stay with Sam Smith for a brief moment here as he looks to try and get a better run on Gardner coming out of 5. Can he find it on the uphill run? Not yet. That Audi just able to initially pull away, but now as they go uphill here, this is where we start to see into that braking zone. The drivers come together for that long trail braking double right at 6 and 7, and in the end Smith inching closer and closer here into the next braking zone for turn number 8, and I think teasing up a move, albeit we're going to have to wait a little while for this to happen. But meanwhile, what's just happened only months ago was a move for P3 between William Guthrie and Daniel Martin. It was Guthrie who made the move, and this is what happened as they made the way down to turn number 4. It was Guthrie up the inside of the Full Tilt Beat Motorsport, a classic move, and Martin not fighting this too hard, and I suspect this is because Daniel Martin's more cognizant of the fact he doesn't want to let the top 2 from Semper Racing get away, and you can see that gap between the two of them now open up to 7 tenths as we return to your live pictures. As it tries to make the way through here, we look back to that battle for P7 through to P6, P5, and from it we then do see coming up behind here, still battling, but this time it's Benjamin McCuskey fighting with John Higgins Jr. as Father John Higgins in the YouTube chat is cheering on son June Zena, as he calls him, as they make the way up towards turn number 1, and as they do, well, right now McCuskey does get ahead of Higgins Jr. as they head in towards the next braking zone, but noticing McCuskey going defensive to the wall here on the inside, understandably worried about the fact that Higgins Jr. will look for a move, but made to look around the outside in the end. But remember, if you defend on the inside into 1, it pulls you offline for turn number 2, but McCuskey, they're getting it apart nice and tightly and therefore able to consolidate the position as they come through the Curva del Sol and making it count. That's an important move for Benjamin McCuskey, gets them a little bit higher up in that potential reverse grid and gives them a higher chance of being as part of it. Of course, they made the way on down towards turn number 4, but as they do, Mikey Doble under pressure now from Pro-Am leader Paul Scott, who's trying to look for P11 here, and in fact looking for P12 we should say, and with that Paul Scott trying to give himself a chance of being eligible for reverse grid pole in race number 2, which would be sensational if it was to happen, keeping in mind the number 6 through to 12 will be in the lottery bowl in equal measure. But as they make the way out the hill, meanwhile Ian Manners taking a bit of a sneak look there in towards the inside of turn number 6, he can't find it, but meanwhile some drivers will find, oh my good lord, and what on earth has happened there in the rear of the picture? Is that Alex Meredith we see pointing in the wrong direction? I believe it is, and the RD Simsport drivers had something go, oh my goodness, and that was very close to Mark Sykes coming through. Sykes gambling around the outside as Meredith tried to get the car off the circuit, but it's gone very, very wrong for Alex Meredith, and well, we do have a replay coming up exactly what happened, and here's the replay. So as they made the way out of turn number 5, battling there with Ben Altria and contact between the two drivers it would seem, and Meredith sent to the tyre barrier there. Well, understandably he's not going to be too pleased with that, albeit we only have one camera angle, we can't quite discern whether it was contact netcode, but it does look as though the two drivers contesting the space there into the corner, and then Meredith trying to get the car off circuit, and Mark Sykes definitely having cat-like reflexes there to make sure to keep the car pointing in the right direction. But return to your live pictures, ladies and gentlemen, we look back to your battle for the lead, and this is your top 4 as they make the way into lap number 9. It's Sabula ahead of Swierdorich, followed by Guthrie and Martin. All 4 of these drivers yet to claim a win this season, so they're all going for it. In fact, I do believe Swierdorich has claimed 1 win, so tell a lie. It does mean 3 out of these 4 drivers have yet to claim a win, and Sabula trying to make it his first win tonight. There's no doubt about it as he heads down towards turn number 4, but as he comes in towards the left-hander here, and right now very close between all 4 of them. William Guthrie, I think, is the one to watch. The full tilty motorsport driver definitely stepping up a gear now as they make the way uphill, but do keep in mind Swierdorich has success ballast in the car, Sabula does not, so therefore Guthrie closing on the man who's laden with weight. Plus also I do believe that Elantra now starting to feel the tyre degradation build here as we head into the final third of the racing with those track temperatures we mentioned earlier on today. And as they come on through turn number 8 into 9, Guthrie looking more and more menacing with every apex turn. In fact, he's right now on the rear bumper as Swierdorich coming out of 9 into 10. He's going to go for it. This is very brave from Guthrie. Goodness me, as he goes all in. Well, right now the man cannot wait. Swierdorich is going to say to him, you are going to wait as we come down through turn number 11. So on the inside in return, but that was bold on the full tilt motorsport driver. To be fair, Swierdorich being compliant to give the space in the end, but as they make the way out of turn control, that is going to give Sabula 6/10 of space to race with. But William Guthrie right now, if you needed an indication he feels he can win this first race of the day, that was it, ladies and gents, because right now the Briton is absolutely on the attack as they make the way up towards the next lap. 3 to go when they come across the line this time to go onto lap number 10, and he's going to look around the outside here as they make the way on down towards the braking zone for turn number 1. Meanwhile, it's going to be Daniel Martin just watching at a distance as they head onto the brakes. Guthrie looking for the move around the outside, he cuts it back to the inside, but Swierdorich very well rehearsed in the moves into turn number 1, and therefore just simply puts the car on the apex and says we'll both lose pace in the end, and also bring Daniel Martin into the fold. And Martin right now getting closer and closer as well as we ride on board and look back from the rear of the Semper Racing car as they head up towards turn number 4. And right now the Polishman doing everything right to keep his rival at bay as they head into left hand. You can see they're just rubbing the rear bumper of Swierdorich is Guthrie. Such as how close he's getting. It is contact racing here as they make the way up the hill towards turn 6 and 7 as they head in towards that break. So Guthrie switching it back, but Swierdorich pins the car to the inside. This is absolutely nail biting stuff here with Swierdorich right now doing everything to keep his rival behind and giving Sabula every opportunity to run away. Meanwhile, look at Martin going around the outside here, but as they do, Swierdorich covering off Guthrie, and Guthrie literally left, right, centre, chucking moves every which way he can. But can he find a way through it? Not at the moment, he can't, as Swierdorich is there every step of the way, making sure that the full tilt motorsport machine can't go any further forward than P3. But Daniel Martin Martin continuing to watch in the Honda Civic tyre part and thinking, when can he get involved? But the problem is, of course, if he goes for a move too soon, he may cost himself an opportunity of hunting for P2 and may end up forcing himself into a battle with Guthrie for only P3. But as they make the way out to turn at number 12, and on the run they go once again. Meanwhile, we look a little bit further down the order of Sam Van Olst, who currently in P4 and been promoted to position with what was Alex Meredith's error coming out of turn number 5 in that contact with Ben Altria. And right now Van Olst pushing for the podium here after teammate Daniel Downing. Between the two of them is Fraser Elphick, but the prime drivers here for Goldwing Motorsports definitely trying to bring home another great result for the team. But meanwhile, as they make the way onwards towards the next lap, going on to the penultimate lap very shortly, we do look from them to Adam Delman just in front here, and the SRL Next Gen driver under a bit of pressure as well as he heads into that next braking zone. Coming off the inside versus Downey as they head down towards turn 1. Downey trying to go around the outside here, and the Elantra versus the Civic. The Civic, the strong one, the brakes. You can see that they're just able to outbrake his rival, and in doing so, a bit of contact. Downey made to go wide inside the fence now for Downey in towards turn number 2, flashing his lights. He's not too pleased with the contact, and Fraser Elphick right now trying to get into the mix here, but not close enough to do so. As Van Olst, meanwhile, carrying the speed in the Audi, trying to get a bit assertive here around the outside into turn number 4, and you can see in return Downey thinking about defending, but in the end recognising there's no need to, because Fraser Elphick right now is going to do all the defending versus what is Van Olst. They come out to turn number 4, nose to tail as they make the way out the corner, and Van Olst here literally looking every which way to make the move happen, but can he make it happen? Well, he's going to be on the outside here in towards turn 6, 7, and up towards 8 he goes. Elphick there defending on the inside. He will have the claim to the inside line for turn number 8. There's no doubt about it, unless Van Olst can find a way to cut it back out of 7. No can do, but what he can do is look around the outside here at turn number 8, getting on himself onto the inside to turn number 9. This is great racing from Sam Van Olst right now, and he takes the position and moves up in a P21 overall with a classic run from the outside to inside of 8 into 9, and that's what we love to see from the 92 driver as he heads in towards turn number 10. Meanwhile, from them, plenty of battling still ongoing here for P11 overall between John Higgins Jr. and Mikey Doble. These two exchanging the places if it's going out of fashion as they make the way out the hill. Is the battle for P11 through to P13 with Paul Scott at the back of it and trying to sneak his way into P12 or P11 in order to get himself into those reverse good positions. But as they make the way onwards towards the final lap, last lap coming up, ladies and gentlemen, and here's your leaders. And Spirit Direct having to go defensive into the opening corner once again. It's a sense of deja vu, but I don't think we mind this as they make the way on down and throw. And as the top 4 come out of the quarters here, they do have a sizable 4-second gap to Dan Mould in P5, so this top 4 the ones who will be contesting that podium and the overall win with it as they head down to the Retroposta here. And you can see right now Sabula trying to give the toe to Swirdich as much as possible as Swirdich holds the car in the middle of the road. Guthrie meanwhile looking to the inside, he can't quite find it as they rub nose to bumper once again, and right now it's Sabula who's just able to walk away with this race, as meanwhile Daniel Martin watching Guthrie flashing his lights there to distract as they make the way in towards turn number 6, and we ride on board with the RD Simsport number 70 as they come through 6 and 7 through the double right they go, and as they do, Martin get a much better run by comparison. It'd be expected he's going to look around the outside here as they make the way through the right into left, but he can't quite get the move sealed and done into 9. He knows now he's got to make it happen. There's no way to get past Swirdich, but there's a way to get past Guthrie if Guthrie's held up by his rival in front. And as they're coming towards turn number 10, Martin too far back here to get involved in this fight, so therefore it may be all about the run to the start finish line to complete the race as they come down through the left hand of turn number 11, but Martin had fallen back here, not the best runs out of turn number 10, so he's going to have to wait, as meanwhile Mikey Doe battling with John Higgins Jr. and Higgins Jr. still holding on to P11 as they come out of turn number 10 and on towards Jinsao corner now at turn number 12, but as they do, making the way into the braking zone and up the uphill rise they go. Meanwhile, ladies and gentlemen, we do need to look back to the front of the field because this man right now is on course to take his first win in his NXTCC career, and as he heads the line, the checker flag will wave, and it's Semper Race's Joseph Sabula who weaves his way to victory at Interlagos in race number 1, ahead of teammate Wojciech Swirdich to make it a 1-2 for Semper Racing. William Guthrie P3, Daniel Martin P4, then it's Dan Mould P5 ahead of Gavin Garner P6, and as all drives come across line, Paul Scott will come on P13 overall, but a winner in the prime class here. A great result for the next gen with Sam Case's driver. Alan McCain will take the run-up spot in the prime class, P15 overall, and it'll be Daniel Downing ahead of teammate Sam Van Olst who makes it a P3 for Goldwing Motorsport in the prime class, P20 overall, and a P4 for his teammate just behind. We still do have some more drivers to come to line, ladies and gentlemen, and giving them all a round of applause as they come on through, as we do see there Luciano Vitford coming across the line, also Luke Jones P34 ahead of Duncan Moraes P35, and then it will be Peter Greenwood there P36 overall for P739 Motorsports ahead of Craig Tillotson and Ian Wild. And Ian Wild coming on through it very shortly here for Mally Motors as he makes his way to line. He'll take a P15 in the Prime class and some more position points earned there for the Mally Motors Britain as he crosses the line. P38 overall ahead of Russell Fowler, and then it will be George Watson who is your last finisher on the lead lap. P40 for Aztec Racing. We had 45 starters and in the end 43 of them making it to the finish line, albeit a couple of them at a lap down or in at the pitch, but still great racing to be had, there's no question about it. But still the stars at the front of the field. Semper racing this first race of the day, and what a result for them, making it a 1-2, the first 1-2 for them in their NXTCC career as a team, and the Jazz Stabula leading that 1-2 home ahead of Wojciech Swierdowicz, and that will definitely set themselves up for success in our second race of the day, with William Guthrie in the end coming home P3. And you can understand right now the Full Tilt B Motorsport driver is a little bit frustrated, having to really hustle and bustle to try and find his way past Swierdowicz, but couldn't quite find it. But still plenty more races to go, and a third place in the end is not bad given the calibre of the competition here, and Guthrie on reflection will definitely think about that. As meanwhile we also look to Paul Scott here with a superb drive to victory in the first race of the day in the Prime class there. P13 missed out on the reverse grid position. I think he'll be a little bit gutted about that, but at the same time when he considers it all, there's no question about it, I think he'll also be happy with the fact to take a win in the Prime class given how strong the class is. Well, again, that's a result that will not be found wanting. Indeed, he'll want another one of those very soon. But as all the drivers come into the pit lane, Jake Alley, they're coming in P8 in the Prime class, P29 overall, with some great battling with Matthew Sheraton and Matthew Addy, and then the only way is forward as the racing goes on. With meanwhile Craig Tillotson in the end, P37, P14 in the Prime class, not quite able to come back versus Peter Greenwood or Duncan Rise, but still the FR20 Sim Racing driver having a good run and getting some points on the board there in the first race of the day. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, let's take a look at those race results subject to any stewards' inquiries, and here they are. And as we can see, after 12 laps of racing, our first race here in round number 3 of the NXTCC Season 5, Jazz Stabula and Wojciech Swierdowicz making it a 1-2 for Semper Racing at the top of the standings, ahead of William Guthrie at P3 there for Full Tilt B Motorsport. Daniel Martin at P4 there, and a very consistent and calm at full place for the RD Simsport driver, ahead of SRL Next Gen's Dan Mole P5, and then we can see Gavin Garner P6 for Next Gen Pink having to hold off the field for a good period of time, with Sam Smith finding his way clear of Jamie Dorian in to pick up his best ever race number 1 result of his NXTCC career. P7 there for Iris Esports, ahead of the Next Gen Racing Pink pair Jamie Dorian and Benjamin McCluskey, with Nick Clemens completing your top 10 there for Iris Esports. John Higgins Jr. fending off Mikey Double to take P11 at best the rest there for Iris Esports, ahead of the apologies for Next Gen with Sam Case, I should say, head of Doble Sim Racing's Mikey at Doble, and that will be all of your reverse grid positions accounted for there, so it will be pros in that reverse grid, but we're still yet to draw the ball, and we'll do that very shortly. And then Paul Scott just missed out on the prospect of being in that reverse grid formation, but P13 there over, and he won't complain. Next Gen with Sam Case's drive will take the win in the Prime class there with both arms wide open. He finished ahead of Ian Manners, with Alan McCain and then finishing at P15, and second place in the Prime class there for iRace Esports. A great result for Alan McCain, no doubt about it. And then to round off the top 20, it was Reese Watt ahead of Lee Horn, followed up by followed up there by Paul Zanatachi, Adam Delman and Daniel Downing, with Daniel Downing taking the third spot on the Prime podium, which did consist of Paul Scott, Alan McCain and Daniel Downing there for Goldwing at Motorsport. Behind him is teammate P21 overall, Sam Van Ols, P4 in the Prime class, another great result for the number 92 driver, ahead of Fraser Elphick, Isaac Doble and Martin Shirley to round off your top 24. Ben Altrier in the end after that contact with Alex Meredith, losing some places, and therefore P25 at the close for Full Tilt B Motorsport, but you'll know there's 2 more races to go, and therefore won't question it, with Joseph Doble P6 ahead of Rafael Zarst, the Semper Racing driver battling hard to P27, and then to round off your top 30 it was Matthew Sheraton, Jay Clay and Matthew Addy. Behind the next gen was Sam Case's driver, the Aztec Racing pair of James Spencer Scout and Callum Jenkins, with Luciano Vitford there after that unfortunate contact coming out of turn number 9 midway through the race, only able to recover to P33 for Brabham Esports, head of JW Motorsports Luke Jones and Duncan Rise P35 there for Goldwing Motorsport. Peter Greenwood, P36 had a Craig Tillotson, with Mally Motors Ian Will completing the top 50 in the Prime class, P38 overall, and then continues the end of stands there, Russell Fowler and George Watson completing your top 40, and with that all of your finishers on the lead lap. Finishing a lap down, it was Mark Sykes and Alex Meredith, and then retiring from the race before making their way to the half distance and therefore classified as non-finishers, P739 Motorsport, Stephen Fry, Jake Pitt for Aztec Racing, and Harley Bicknell for JW Motorsport, with both Pitt and Bicknell not able to make it to the grid unfortunately due to issues with their cars. But that marks the conclusion of our first race of the day, ladies and gentlemen, and we've still got 2 more races to come. There's no doubt about it. The racing was fast and furious in our first race of the day, and it's only going to up in terms of the tempo in our second. But of course, to set the tempo for our second race of the day, there is that question of our second race reverse grid draw. And with that, we are now going to cut to the commentary booth. And good evening to you all. I hope you're all doing well and enjoying the races so far. And in the Lottery Bowl, we do have the numbers 6 through to 12. And without further ado, I'm going to very shortly close my eyes and pull one of the balls out the hat after, albeit a little bit of a shuffle. Without further ado, here we go. And out of the numbers 6 through to 12, we now pick a number. And it is going to be... It is the number 6, so it's the smallest potential reverse grid for our first reverse grid race of the day. So race number 2's pole sitter will be none other than Gavin Gardner. So the Audi driver starts on pole, but will he be able to convert it into a victory? We'll have to wait and see very shortly, ladies and gentlemen. But as we get ready to go racing once again, we are just going to take a brief breather, but not without bringing you some words from our sponsor. And that, of course, our title sponsor for this season being IMB Racewear. So with a word from our sponsor, IMB Racewear, ladies and gentlemen, we do return to our scenes and sights from race number 1, and we take a look back at that race start between all the drivers. A phenomenal start indeed from everybody at the front of the field, but in particular, this man, Jaroslav Spula, was able to hold on after what was a good start off the line, and with that launch, having no worries about the drivers coming up behind him and looking for potential moves as they made the way on through the opening couple of corners. But as our drivers will get themselves set, we're going to try and grab a word with one or two of our drivers as we wait to go racing once again, so that way we're not sat stationary as we are waiting. It'll be race number 2 that's come up in the near future, and I do believe we are going to try and get a quick word with this man who started from towards the back of the field, none other than Craig Tillotson, and get some thoughts from him on what was a tough race for his first race of the day, but also on top of that, one that he can definitely build upon. And as we do try and get a patch through to the FR20 Sim Racing driver, indeed I believe he will be joining us very shortly. We're going to get a patch through to him from the paddock. And give us a brief moment, ladies and gentlemen. We'll get to hear the thoughts from Craig in terms of how things went in this first race of the day. And as we do get a patch through to Craig down the paddock, Craig, are you there? And if so, have you got a couple of minutes?
Yeah, I have a couple of minutes, mate.
Oh, that's absolutely fantastic. Well, Craig, it looked as though it was a tough first race of the day as we take a look back at some of the pictures from the scenes of your car in our first race. A good start, but unfortunately a bit of an instant going through turn number 8, which meant all that momentum you gained came to a bit of a halt.
Yeah, it sort of spoiled my race, but that's the way it goes. Luckily, I managed not to crash into him, so I didn't damage my car.
Well, indeed, avoiding the incident there, and afterwards having some great racing as well, chasing after some of your rivals, and particularly it looks as though you're enjoying a bit of battling with the likes of Peter Greenwood and also George Watson this season. Have you got any drivers in particular, now that you're 3 rounds in, that you're keeping your eyes out for in terms of, these are the guys I normally battle or I want to get a one-up on?
There's a couple like Peter Greenwood, but, you know, just being close to people, bit of good racing, all I'm aiming for, really.
Well, that's absolutely fair. And with regards to the Interlagos circuit, how are you feeling with the circuit? Because it's an absolutely scorching hot day today. And of course, this track boiling hot as well. And we do know the Elantra does struggle a little bit in those high temperatures.
Yeah, it's a bit tricky. I've just used to driving it in a GT3 car. Getting in a touring car, it's just still trying to get a hang of it, really.
Well, that's absolutely fair. And just some thoughts for yourself. What can we expect from you in race number 2?
So hopefully a bit of close battling. Right, really just keeping up with everyone else really at back.
Well, Craig, it's been absolutely brilliant to hear from you. Wish you all the best with your preparations for race number 2, and we look forward to seeing you out again on circuit.
Thanks, mate.
So hearing there from Craig Tillotson, hearing some thoughts from him and talking about the fact that after the incident that we saw on the open lap, we caught it briefly there with one of the JW Motorsport cars going around prematurely. I do believe that was the car of Luke Jones, really spoiling that momentum and really confounding his race. But still 2 more to go, and talking about his experience there and the fact he spent a lot of time learning Interlagos in a GTP class machine or a GT prototype, so now switching to the touring car, but enjoying some batting with his rivals out there, and definitely right now eager to go racing once again and not going to be pulling any punches when he goes racing, and that's what we love to hear. And we're also going to try and get a quick word from one of our other drivers, ladies and gentlemen, and in fact we may just be able to get a word from what is none other than, as we try to see who's around in the pit lane at the moment, and I think we might be able to get a word from a driver who did spend some time battling with Craig Tillotson, and that is Peter Greenwood, and let's see if we can get a word from him very shortly as we do try to get the patch through to him in what is the paddock. And as we do try to catch him now, Peter, have you got a moment for a quick chat live on the broadcast?
I do.
Well, it's great to have you join us, Peter, for a brief moment. Oh, goodness me, I don't think we have got the chance to catch up with Peter, unfortunately. I think we just lost the connection there. So apologies, ladies and gentlemen. I think we might not be able to catch Peter right now, but we'll try and catch him a little bit later on. We're just going to ask him about his racing in what was the first race today, but some drivers of course focused on getting themselves set for what is race number 2. So with that, we will just try and grab another quick word with one of our other drivers on the field, and in fact I think we might be able to grab a word from a man who definitely flew his way up the order quite rapidly, and that being Sam Smith, as we do just try and get a patch through to him now.
So
good evening to you, Sam. Sorry to cut you off from the paddock. Do you have time for a quick word live on air?
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Sam, a phenomenal race from yourself at race number 1, fighting your way up to P7, one of your best performances in your NXTCC career thus far. It looks like you're enjoying yourself out there at the Interlagos circuit.
Yeah, it's one of the tracks I really enjoy. It's fast and flowing and nice technical section at the end. And yeah, it's not really one that feels like it suits this car, but yeah, it seemed like I've got some pace tonight.
Which seems to suit the car, it seems to suit you as a driver, and just take us through battling, of course, with a number of drivers who've either got success ballast in the car or not. Are you noticing or able to discern who's got the weight in the car, or is it just each driver you pass, you've just passed and that's it?
No, you can definitely tell. Like, so the Audi's usually fast in a straight line, and yeah, Jamie's definitely suffering with some success ballast, I'm guessing. Yeah, I could definitely tell with Jamie that was really the only one.
That's absolutely fair play. And going into race number 2 now, of course, we've got a top 6 reverse grid, so it means you'll be starting P7 for this second race. Are we expecting a top 5 out yourself?
Yeah, I'm happy with that. I was waiting to find out what it was, and I'm pleased to hear that.
Well, with that, Sam, wish you all the best for our second race of the day, and we'll see you out of the circuit shortly.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Cheers, Paul.
Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, with that, we are now going to take a step away in order to get ready for race number 2, but that will be coming up within the next 5 minutes. We'll see you very shortly. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, we are back then for the build-up to race number 2, and race 2 is only 3 or so minutes away. The track temperature here at Interlagos has fallen slightly to 41 degrees centigrade, and indeed the ambient temperature has dropped as well, because it's now 24 degrees centigrade. So cooler conditions may aid Sava drivers, particularly our Elantra drivers, but the question is who will keep their cool and carry on to victory in race number 2. We definitely had an absolute thriller of race number 1, but now as we get set for our second race of the day, this is a man who right now has earned himself reverse grid pole position, with the number 6 being drawn out of Lottery Bowl, and it means that Gavin Garner right now goes from P6 his finishing position in race number 1 to move into that pole position seat for the second race of the day. But as he gets himself set, of course, the pressure will be on, a little bit of weight will be added to the car as well, so he'll know the tough work and the hard work is out there, and he's got to craft his way on through. But as he gets himself set and ready, many a driver looking to try and push on from where they finished in our first race, and one of those drivers being this man, of course, Daniel Martin for RD Simsport, who was running in P4 right towards the very end and holding on to that position and looking for an opportunity to try and find his way past William Guthrie, but couldn't quite do so in the end. So had to take the first spot off of the podium, but he'll be looking for a podium in this next race. But whilst our drivers do get themselves set, let's take a brief moment to say hello to a good number of you who we've seen join the respective chats between the start of the broadcast and going into further racing. Indeed, we have there Ian Crosby in the Facebook chat who says, good door banging tonight, Walshy. Indeed, Ian, fantastic battling between our drivers so far. That's a great door banging as well, no doubt about it. We also do say hello there to Spinks 1985, and well, also there and to Welsh Boy at 2012, who asked, does this race have stewards? Yes, we do have live stewards, albeit they're doing stewarding for track limit and the safety car deployment. All race incidents where drivers have contact with one another will be investigated after the racing and after the round is complete. So therefore, we do have some stewarding in effect. And that was being in the YouTube chat there. And John Higgins asking me to pull the number 11 from the Lottery Bowl when I didn't say that I'm sacked. Well, I do apologise, John. At the end of the day, unfortunately, the Lottery Bowl would not be on the side of John Higgins Jr. as of race number 2, but you never know what could happen in race number 3 in the build up to that. We also say hello there to Dan80 in the YouTube chat, also to what is there, I do believe. Well, I believe that's everybody covered so far. If we haven't said hello to you, I do apologise. We do try to catch everybody. We also say hello there to Slack John 91 Hussein, who is cheering on the SRL NXTGEN drivers, and one of whom is Adam Delmon as the SRL NXTGEN driver gets himself all warmed up and ready to go. And do let us know, if you haven't already, who you're cheering on in your respective chat, ladies and gentlemen. Don't be shy. Feel free to say hi and converse with one another, and converse with us. We try to keep an eye on the chat as much as possible. We know as well your eyes are glued to the racing here, but as we get set, race number 2 coming up very shortly, and well, it is going to be absolutely fantastic. There's no doubt about it, and that weight proving itself to be quite the effective means of being able to differentiate the cars. And Sam Smith in particular mentioning in his brief interview after race number 1 the fact you can tell the cars that are running the weight, particularly when you look at the Audis that are running weight versus not, because those without the weight can pull away on the straights. Meanwhile, those with the weight, they don't pull away at all. But as they make the way up through, and Handsome Stew in the YouTube chat, they're saying that he's cheering on Paul Walsh. That's very kind of you, Handsome Stew. You are quite a lovely chap, I must admit, for you to say that. But right now, as our drivers get set, the checker flag is open and out there, and it means it's time for one and only one thing. It's time for us to head to the grid for our second race of the day here at Interlagos. So the drivers make their way to the grid. This is how they'll line up for race number 2. It is going to be on pole position then Gavin Garner, who takes the reverse grid pole. He is joined on the front row by none other than Dan Mould for SRL NXTGEN, and behind the NXTGEN pink driver in line it's RD Simsport's Daniel Martin starting P3 on row number 2. It's William Guthrie who joins him at P4 for Full Tilt B Motorsport, with Wojciech Spiridowicz P5 there for Semper Racing, and Jaroslav Sabula P6 for Semper Racing, his teammate. Indeed a 1-2 for them in race number 1. Can they make it a 1-2 once again? We'll have to wait and see, with Sam Smith starting P7 for iRacing Esports ahead of Jamie Dory for NXTGEN Pink, and then the top 10 being completed by Benjamin McCluskey for NXTGEN Pink, and iRacing Esports is Nick Clibbins. Behind them on row number 6, it's John Higgins Jr. and Mikey Doble, with row number 7 going to Paul Scott, your pro and pole sitter for NXTGEN, with Sam Cases looking to make it 2 wins out of 2. He's joined on that row by Ian Maz for JW Motorsport, and there's Alan McCain and Reese Watt on row number 8, with Lee Horn and Paul Zanatachi on row number 9, and then your top 20 on row number 10 is complete by Adam Delmont and Daniel Downing. But it's time for the race, ladies and gentlemen, and here come the lights. It's going to be 1 red light, 2 red lights, 3 red lights, 4 red lights, 5 red lights. And it's lights out and away we go for our second race of the day after a slow start on the lights for many a driver, and Gavin Garner gets the launch off the line. But as they head in towards turn number 1, Daniel Martin immediately on the charge here with Dan Mould looking up the inside. It's going to be Daniel Martin who sweeps his way around the outside, however, and the RD Sport driver gains 1 place off the line as they weave their way on down the centre S now. And as they do, everybody coming through safely here, and it looks like everyone giving one of them plenty of room as they roll off the corners. And Mikey Doble here already gaining a couple of places as well as he makes his way up towards turn number 4. But now it's the long charge down the restaurant Foster, and this is where we'll start to see our drivers look for battles into the first major braking zone on the lap. And as they come on down, Joseph Sabula on the inside defending versus Sam Smith. Smith going on the offensive. Keep in mind that Sabula's got a lot of way as we do see a couple of cars running wide there, including what is Jamie Dory who has to back off the throttle due to the grass. And as they make the way up the hill, meanwhile William Guthrie wasting no time in trying to fend off Wetching through direction as they come up through the corner of turn number 6 into 7, with Mikey Doble there still boxed in behind Sabula and Sam Smith on the outside there, and Smith looking for the move, but right now he could be leaving himself vulnerable to a launch from the Doble Sim Racing driver. He's got no weight to the car, and Mikey Doble immediately trying to capitalise as he gains 1 place. On the outside is Jamie Dory. What contact there between Smith and Doble is going to push Doble forward and leave Dory behind in their wake as they head towards turn number 10. Onto the brakes they go, and as they do right now, Smith on the outside, Dory still down the inside as they come out the hairpin in towards turn number 11. Still too wide as they make the way on through the long left-hander Migulo up towards Junsao corner, and as they come towards the final major corner of this opening lap, it's Smith who holds the position in P8. He's lost 1 place to Mikey Doble, and now he's got to try and fight through it back as they make the way up the hill, but behind them it's all kicking off between Paul Zanatachi and what is Adam Delwant, Paul Scott, and also Lee Horn, Sam Alston, Ian Manners as they all make the way on through what is turn number 14. We look back from the rear of the Affinity car in the battle of P14. Adam Delwant there with Lee Horn following on through, but what you can't quite see at the moment is where Lee Horn is, and there he is with Paul Scott just behind as the prime leader right now is Isaac Doble, Sam Alston, Daniel Downing right behind him as they make the way to the braking zone. But as they all do, coming on down hard on the brakes here, it's going to be 4 wide under braking for a brief moment. They all make it on through, but notice there how close they're all getting, how eager the drivers are, and Ian Manners right now being swamped by prime drivers. That is both Sam and also Daniel Downing going through the inside of turn number 3 to get the move on Manners, and Manners out of position now as they make the way down towards turn number 4. Into the braking zone they go, and meanwhile Ben Trier here trying to make some progress as well after a difficult end to race number 1. Onto the brakes they go here, it's turn number 4, 2 wide as they come through the corner, a bit of a lock-up from one driver in front, and that is going to be, I believe, Martin Shirley going very deep. But meanwhile from them, it's the lead battle here that's now of more interest. We see Dan Moll trying to go around the outside after a run through the inside of turns 4 and 5, but Gavin Gardner still holding on, and we catch this at the peak time as Will Guthrie loses the rear end, and it's contact, multiple drivers contact there with Daniel Martin and also Wojciech Swierdowicz, and Swierdowicz goes to the runoff area but not without contact with the 14B Motorsport car, and William Guthrie's crusade through the field has come to an abrupt halt. But meanwhile, between Mould and Gardner, it's not over yet. These two are still fighting neck and neck as they make the way on around. Ferocious racing between these two as they make the way down from Bigulo corner, and as they come in towards turn number when it's turn number 12, onto the brakes they go. Mould on the inside here, but remember the SRO and NXTGEN driver does have the weight in the car. He's got just about as much weight as Gardner here, so there's nothing between them as they make the way uphill now. And can Mould get this done? I think he can. I think he can seal the deal come the end of this second lap of racing as they make the way in towards turn number 1 this time around. And Gardner now on a bit of a back foot with Daniel Martin closing as they make the way onto lap number 3. But notice how Mikey Doble trying to pick up another driver. Here goes to the inside. Doble going all in on the braking here, and this could be an opportunity for Mikey Doble to pick up a win if he's able to play his cards right. Contact there between Martin and Gardner, a nasty shunt to the rear of the NXTGEN pink car from the RD Simsport machine, and that's going to let Mikey Doble through as Sam Smith on the inside through the curve of the Sol, and as they come through the left hand and onwards towards what is turn number 4 right now, where it does look as though here Dan Mulder right now able to break away, but Gavin Gardner having to go defensive as they head in towards turn number 4. Mikey Doble looking up the inside, deciding better of it as they go onto the brakes. Meanwhile behind, Nick Clemens up the inside of Jaroslav Sabula, the iRacing Esports driver in the number 13, making more and more progress. And as they come up towards turn number 5 and in towards 6, well, right now these guys are all forming into line astern for a brief moment, but it's going to be more pressure on Gavin Garner as he comes into turn number 6 here, in the fact that Mikey Doble looking every which way around him to try and make the move count. Can't quite find it at the moment, and onto the brakes they go. Doble close but not able to venture a move. But meanwhile, we need to take a look back at what exactly happened to William Guthrie only moments ago on what was lap number 2. And here's the replay to the full tilt motorsport driver. And it looks as though there was some contact with the car of what was Wojciech Spiridowicz. We're not quite 100% sure whether it was contact between them, but it did look as though there might have been a bit of contact over the two cars. And that is what has led to William Guthrie going on around. But we can need a better angle of that compared to what we do have. But we're not going to get that immediately. But as we return to your live racing pictures, we have the scenic view there for a brief moment. Our cameraman looking to the clouds. We can get him to look back to the racing. Car going very slowly down the inside. That's Matthew Sheraton in a heavily wounded car as they make their way on around. Not quite sure what the story is for Sheraton, but meanwhile, the live story here at the front of the field is that Dan Mould has taken this lead, and after 3 laps of racing, it's Mould ahead of Gardner, followed by Mikey Doble. Mikey Doble looking for the move. Meanwhile, on Gardner here, it's turn number 1, looking around the outside once again as they head onto the brakes. He can't quite find it at the moment as he tries to cut back, but Gardner stays stationary in P2. Meanwhile, Smith P4 ahead of Clibbins. Then it's going to be Simula P6 ahead of McCluskey P7, followed by Martin P8, Watt P9, Dory P10, and it's Higgins Jr. ahead of there. Oh my good lord! And we said Higgins Jr. P11 as there's even more contact between drivers there. And the next year was Sam Case's driver being turned around, and we catch it just as it hits a crescendo. But I think there's a bit more that meets the eye, and with that, it does mean now that Paul Zelataci moves into P11 ahead of Isaac Doe. Will be Isaac Doe up the inside here, and the Pro-Am leader now having fought his way through. Paul's got down in P24, so there's been a big altercation that's led to a shake-up in the Pro-Am field as well. We'll have to try and understand what's happened there very shortly. But Isaac Doe will now your Pro-Am leader, P11, and far clear of the rest of his rivals as meanwhile Zelataci and Spiridowicz going side by side, coming on through turn at number 6 into 7 here, and it looks as though right now Spiridowicz looking for that potential move back, but Zelataci saying no can do as the Affinity driver just simply defends and defends well, coming from apex to apex. As they come out to the left-hander turn at number 9 and onwards towards 10 they go. Meanwhile, Daniel Downing and was it Ian Manners fighting, and Downing fighting for overall position only, not for prime at this point, as 3 wide into the braking zone there, but cheeky Pete Van McCain, and McCain's going to make this work for P4 in the prime class. Looks up the inside, but Downing comes back at him now in this fight between the 2 prime drivers, so they come down through turn at number 11 into 12. Downing on the inside, McCain on the outside. Well, McCain at this point, he's just got to get the cutback set up correctly, and he might carry momentum up the hill, but in the end he gets a bit too close for comeback as to pull the car offline briefly. That's going to cost him the toe as they make the way through turn number 14, but coming all the way around here, it's going to be a drag race between them. But keep in mind that Downing does have a small bit of success ballast in the car, given his top 5 finishing position in the prime class in race number 1. Meanwhile, McCain has and also has some weight in the car, I do believe. So in fact, it's going to be even Stevens between them as they make the way down towards turn number 1. But Downing holding firm on the outside there. McCain looks up the inside. He's going for it on the brakes, but on the outside of turn 2, through the centre S they go. They give each other plenty of room as they make the way through 3. This time McCain's going to make it work. He's going to get ahead of Downing, and the number 17 driver will be back in the tow as they make the way in towards turn number 4 rather gradually. Meanwhile, Sam Van Ol's just in front, and Ben Altria side by side with him. This is the fight for second place in prime, with Van Ol's having a lot of damage on the front bumper and the front bonnet of what is the Audi RS3, and therefore Altria goes around the outside, gets it done. The full tilt motorsport driver, and how the fortunes are turning over a single race in the fact that right now the 504 driver on a crusade through the field, with only next time will be Isaac Doble. Keep in mind between Altria and Doble is 7 places, and it's absolutely packed with pros in between the two of them. So right now Altria might be just looking to consolidate this second place in our second race of the day. But meanwhile, as they make the way on through, we take a look back at what happened to John Higgins Jr. at the start of lap number 4. This was coming down the hill in the battle with the Affinity driver Paul Zelataci, and in the end the two of them fighting for the same space into the cover to Solar Apex to turn number 3, and well, 2 did not go into 1 there, and Higgins Jr. coming off the worst of the two of them as the car came to an abrupt halt. As we return to your live racing pictures, ladies and gents, we do need to try and take a look back at what happened to Paul Scott in the early stage of this race, losing a whole number of places early on, and we're not quite sure what's happened other than he has lost multiple places, and we haven't really got any information to suggest otherwise, so we might have to hold off trying to get a replay of what happened to the pole sitter in the prime class. But meanwhile, as our drivers make the way on our live pictures onto lap number 6, this is just Sabila versus Reese Watt coming through the field now as well, trying to make a bit more progress later on as they come towards the end of the first half of this second race a day. Through turns 1, 2 and 3 they go, and as they do, Benjamin McCuskey also there and eager to try and make some headway as we ride on board and look over the nose of the next gen racing machine. You can see there Reese Watt in the Audi just able to extend, given the Audi's prowess on the straights, and as they headed towards turn number 4 at this point, the next gen racing pink driver just not able to find his way in, and therefore having to back off once again. But remember the fact right now he's got time to play with, and with Sabula also carrying maximum possible weight in the car, 56 6.4 kilograms. It does mean that Spieler right now really struggling uphill as he goes in towards what is turn number 6 into 7. Through the double right they go, and McCluskey at this point, well, can he find a way to get involved here into turn number 8? No, he has to wait. He's too far back, but keep in mind as well, we look behind him here. This is Jamie Dory and Daniel Martin on the back. So right now it is a 5-way fight for P6 through to P10 in the overall category. All these drivers eager to try and gain some major points here, and they'll be very much inside that reverse grid of P13 through to P23 potential positions here. So not really fighting over reverse grid position, they're just fighting over major championship points. And right now at any moment, one mistake could cost a driver very deep. But meanwhile, as we see Cool Shot racing there, giving a shout out to the driver up in P16, Luciano Vitford, and understandably so as he tries to gain another place here as the Bradman Esports driver looking around the outside of Lee Horn, but Horn defending it hard into Jinsao corner, and that's because he's come from P33 at the start all the way up to P16 as he looks around the outside. It's free wide there, Ben Tree on the inside. It's going to be a drag race between the trios. They come on through, and as they make the way on around, we do try and get on board with a helicopter camera that's following them as they make the way in towards turn at number 1 on the long run, and it's Vitford on the right. It's going to be Ultria on the left. Meanwhile, Lee Horn tucks in behind. Can he look for the Moses manoeuvre between the middle of the two of them? As they make the way into turn at number 1, he can't quite find it. As they make the way into break, if Victor's going to hold it around the outside to the inside of the centre of turn 2, and he gets it done there. Meanwhile, Tree and Horn still side by side as they come out the corner, and as they do make the way through the left-hander, Luciano Vitford does get the move done for Bradman Esports as they make the way up towards turn number 4. But as they make the way on down there, perfect time for a helicopter camera. Meanwhile, more happening in the field up the front of the field as we see a Mikey Doble looking around the outside, with Dan Mould off the inside of turns 4 and 5. And as they go through the double right-hander, well, right now, Mould digging in deep here to hold position. Doble's still pushing for this move. It's understandable he wants to try and get ahead of Mould and then just run away before the rest of the field catches up. But right now, Dan Mould doing everything in his power to make sure that Doble Sim Racing drive is made to wait, and potentially Sam Smith or Nick Clemens can get involved in this as the iRacing Esports pair right now, P3, P4. iRacing Esports looking for one of their best performances of the season so far. In fact, their best performance of this season without question as they come down through turn at number 11. As they make the way in towards Jinsao corner. Meanwhile, Gavin Garner still watching behind. This top 5 have broken away from the next 5 cars inside this top 10. So 2 sets of 5 make up your top 10, all pro drivers, and then you have the lonely Brian driver leading the class in P11 overall of Isaac Doble. So right now, it's all to go at the front of the field here as Mikey Doble once again on the charge. We ride on board with a Doble Sim Racing driver, and you'll notice in the tow here with no weight in the car versus the ballast-laden car, Dan Mould, as they make the way in towards turn at number 1 onto the brakes. They go side by side into the opening corner, but will Mould be able to do enough here to fend off Mikey Doble? He will for now, but I get the feeling the 88 driver here is just frying out moves as teasers here and trying to see what exactly Mould will do each and every time he looks to move around the outside or looks to move on the inside. And again, he's got the time to play when he's got the space of the car's mind to try and work this. But from them, meanwhile, we do look a little bit further back, and that's a side by side. You can see further back here between Jose Doble and Wojciech Spiridowicz, with Spiridowicz trying to get clear of Jose Doble right now in the battle for P14. But Jose Doble coming back here on the inside. Keep in mind that Spiridowicz running P2 success ballast. Jose Doble no success ballast in the car. Up the inside he goes, looking for this. This could be quite the championship defining move right now as both drivers battling towards the top end of the overall championship at this point in time. And as they make their way in towards turn number 6, still side by side up the hill. Spiridowicz there trying to get himself out wide as possible going into the turn 6 apex. 9 his line will be compromised by default, and Jose Doble letting him take the position back, albeit looking for the cutback out of 7. Can't quite find it, being made to wait as meanwhile behind the man who's on a charge from P33 is the starting position. It is Vitford. There's Craig Tillerston a lap down, just tries to steer clear on the inside of turn number 9. It's going to get very crowded on the exit of the corner. Tillerston steers clear just about, with Ben Ultria there almost giving him a tap on the rear bumper, but with that Ultria now under pressure from Lee Horn, who looks to try and come back up the inside and say, remember me? Remember how you took me earlier on this race? Well, now I'm coming back at you. But Ultria immediately putting the hammer down here and saying, nope, I'm going chasing after Vitford as they head in towards turn number 12 once more. But as they head on through the left-hander, meanwhile looking a bit further back, this is William Guthrie, who after his early instant into turn at number 8, right now looking to try and make up some more places, chasing after Rafael Zarst as he chases down the Polishman and making the way up the hill. And Zarst with some damage on the front of that Honda, in fact quite a lot of damage on that car, it would seem, on the left hand side in the left rear tyre, with less coverage from what is the bodywork, much like the front left tyre. So I think there's been a big hit on the left hand side of the car from the driver's perspective. But as they power their way onwards towards turn number 1, going on to lap number 9 here, with front bumper missing for from what is the car of Martin Shirley that just went for your camera shot. Guthrie up the inside here for P29, and I think this might be a straightforward pass, with Archie not really having any momentum in the car to be able to try and make a move stand in terms of making that defence stand versus rival. And in the end, Guthrie comes on through for P29 through the opening corner. But from then, we do look back up to the leader here, and this is getting very tight in the battle between P1 through to P5, with Mould still holding on as we ride on board and look back from the rear of the SRO and NXTGEN Veloster. In towards the braking zone they go for turn number 8, and Doble's still there, absolutely looking now for the move. Time is running out in this race. They've only got 3.5 laps to go. It sounds like a lot, but in practice, those laps very quickly come charging on down, and as they make the way out of turn at number 9 in towards 10, Doble once again a little bit late on the brakes, seeing where he can potentially look for that move as this race comes towards its crescendo. Meanwhile, behind Sam Smith and also Nick Clemens keeping the pressure on Doble, making sure he's got to keep pushing forward, not back. And as they head in towards turn number 12, Mole get the better run out of 11, but as they roll into left-hander here right now. Also at the back of this group, Gavin Garner in the Audi that's laden with weight. Can he find a way to get involved here? We'll have to see, as meanwhile Clemens and Smith swap places behind. In fact, I think Smith's had a poor run out the corner, because it does mean as they make the way past our cameraman here, it's going to be Gardner ahead of Smith now. Smith drops back to P5. And as they head up towards turn number 1, Reese White P6, he's only 1.5 seconds behind, if that. So therefore, what is getting closer and closer as these laps continue to trickle down. Clemens versus Gardner. Gardner on the insider coming back for P3 after losing it earlier on, but almost loses the rear end of the apex of 1. That's to catch the car in time. Clemens takes the place back, but look at Smith caught in behind, and this is going to drop them all back to Reese White. It means that Mould and Doble are going to run away with the lead of this race now and battle for that lead by themselves as they make their way towards turn number 4, heading down the retro post they go. It's going to be Mikey Doble looking around the outside. Mould defends off centre line, and as they head through, this time Doble's going to commit to the outside. I think he's seen his opportunities. He runs a little bit wide there. He'll be permitted to do so once or twice, but not too many times at the discretion of our track steward. And as they make, oh goodness me, a contact between the two of them, and it's Mould off onto the grass, and Doble rejoins. Well, they're both fighting for the position there, but that is definitely going to be one of the contentious moments of this race. There's no doubt about it. Doble will take the lead, but I think right now he'll just be focusing on what he can do, as meanwhile Dan Mould does rejoin and comes straight across the circuit, the SRO and NXTGEN driver. Well, goodness me, you couldn't make this up, but to be fair, they're now back to racing, albeit it will be Mikey Doble who retakes the lead there, as Mould on the inside, a little bit of a rub. We want Nick Clemens and Mould in going straight on and parking the car up, and for Dan Mould, that might be it, and goodness me, if so, if there's any damage picked up on Dan Mould's car, that's why he's been towed to the pits, and it means that Doble takes the lead of this race with Nick Clemens P2, and it will be Gardner, Smith and McCluskey now your top 5. But with all this and with Mould's rejoin, it has brought the entirety of the top 9 that are remaining racing back together now, with what is 2 laps left to go in the second race of the day. And as they make the way up towards turn number 1, right now Nick Clemens looking for an opportunity to take his first ever overall win ahead of Mikey Doble, but the problem is as they make the way towards turn number 1, Doble's not going to want to let this go, and meanwhile behind, everybody queuing up to take a shot at one another now as they make the way down through turn 1 into 2, and as they roll their way through the right-hander, we say hello to Rob Sutherland there, who, like many of you, giving your thoughts on what happened there between Dan Mould and Mikey Doble, or shocked at how it all played out, and still we're absolutely flabbergasted by it, but we can't be speechless for too long because there's a race still to cover as they make the way down towards turn number 4. Reese Watt still looking for the move on McCluskey. Meanwhile, the JW Motorsport driver, as much as he wants to peak for the move, he can't quite find it as they head in towards turn number 6 and 7, but as they do, meanwhile behind, that's Anatachi versus what is Joseph Doble as they come out of turn number 4 and up towards 5, and these two having their own little battle for what is P12 overall, with Luciano Vitford behind them, and Vitford's trying to get involved here to make that recovery even more, and if he carries on this way, it will be Vitford who's made his way into the top 13 and guarantees himself a spot on that reverse grid. And what a driving from P33's P14, and looking to try and get to P12 by the end of it. Up the inside of the Affinity driver he goes, but he'll be on the outside here of turn number 9. He'll be made to wait as meanwhile Spiridaric looks up the inside for a brief moment, and as they come out to turn number 9 in towards 10, Vitford looking for it but can't find a way through, being made to wait constantly as they come out to the right hand and into left of turn number 11 they go, and nose to tail they roll the way on down the hill up towards Jinsao corner. One more lap to go after this, and it's getting very hot in amongst these drivers outside of the top 10 and inside the top 10, where it could not be more heated here, as meanwhile the battle of P5 between McCluskey and Watadori now makes its way past our cameraman and onto its final lap. We've got a car going slowly on the inside there. I believe that's Higgins Jr. who's doing well clear of all the carnage in front, and as they make the way on down, And the braking, McCluskey down the braking and contact with Reese Watt's forced off, and as a result it's going to lead to Watt falling down. McCluskey still defensive here versus Jamie Dory, and I think some drivers starting to see a little bit of red here in the closing stage of this race. They make the way out of turn number 3. It means the top 4 breakaway once again. Jamie Dory gains a place, as does Sevilla and Martin. Watt falls to the back of this group, but Reese Watt's not out of this yet as they make the way down towards turn number 4. Onto the brakes they go, and the JW Motorsport driver there getting back ahead of Daniel Martin into left-hander, and coming out of turn number 4 and in towards 5 will mean, well, it's going to be, what is that? I believe Jamie Dory running very, very wide, and as he rejoins, a Sabula gaining the place, and Dory there and to take to the escape runoff area as they make the way through turns 6 and 7. Meanwhile, further behind, it's Adam Delmont fighting with what's Isaac Doble, the prime leader here, losing the potential top 10 finish to Adam Delmont. He won't be too upset by that, but at the same time, he'd like to gain a bit more time and place on circuit. I think he's just going to tuck in behind you and let Adam Delmont go as they make the way through turn number 9 and in towards turn number 10. But meanwhile, Dory versus Reese Watt coming back to the battle for what is P7 here. Watt around the outside, Dory defend on the inside to the outside of turn what is number 11 as they make the way down for a left-hander. Reese Watt gains another place. The JW Motorsport driver has not had the wind knocked out of his sails. If anything, this has galvanised him, but I think that might be all he gained, because as they make the way on through the final couple of corners, well, right now, regardless of how it played out between Dan Mould and Mikey Doble still leads, and as he makes his way onwards towards the final kick, it's going to be the checker flag that waves, and Mikey Doble will be your winner for race number 2 here ahead of Nick Clemens P2, Gavin Garner P3, Sam Smith P4, Benjamin McCluskey P5, and Jazz Hastabula finishes at P6 ahead of Reese Watt, Jamie Dory, Daniel Martin, Adam Delmont, with Isaac Doble coming through to take the prime win in race number 2, P11 overall for Doble Sim Racing. Joseph Doble P12 ahead of Luciano Bitford, Paul Zanatachi and Lee Horn. Ben Altrill will take the runner-up spot in the prime class. As a result of what is there, a P16 overall, he'll be pleased with that, there's no doubt about it. And then Alan McCain will make it 3rd place on the prime podium, P19 overall, and a great drive there for the iRacing Sports driver ahead of Daniel Dennett and Sam Van Ols. But meanwhile, we've got more drivers to finish their race, ladies and gentlemen, including Fraser Elphick, the SRL NXTGEN driver, coming to the line. He'll finish P30 in the end, not to be his day in this second race, but he'll be ahead of Ian Wilder, brings on home a P31, his best result of the season for Malley Motors there, and was a P10 in the prime class. The only way is up for the 48 driver, and then at Jay Calais, P32, holding off what is now Alex Meredith. To line, it will be Alex Meredith a lap down, and the privateer Jay Clay P32, and then we do have Luke Jones here coming on around chasing after Russell Fowler, and these two are going to be the last finishers of this race, P33, P34 on the lead lap as they make the way out of turn number 12, but it's going to be a drag race to line here between them. But it looks like the Audi of Valor may just have it here in the long run, and then we have had Mark Sykes and downwards all the way to George Watson from P35 to P43, finishing a lap down there or more, ladies and gentlemen. So it will be these two complete your race, and it will be at Russell Fowler P33 ahead of Jones, who takes P34 at the close. Well, goodness me, ladies and gentlemen, what a second race. And, well, a little bit of a cloud perhaps hanging over this man at the moment for Doble Sim Racing, Mikey Doble, after the contact between himself and Dan Mould in that battle for the win. And, well, at least on circuit, subject to perhaps the stewards after the racing today, we'll have to see. But the 88 driver will be your winner on this race. We're ahead of Nick Clemens and Gavin Garner. Nick Clemens fighting well for that second place finish. But also a major mention to Isaac Doble, your winner in the prime class. Then the Doble Sim Racing driver will be very happy with that after having a bit of a anomalous race number 1, but now it's all come back together in race number 2, and there's still one more race to go. And the final driver eligible for a reverse grid position, Martin Shirley, who finished P23 for RD Sisport, and he'll be hoping that Lady Luck is on his side after finishing the race without a front bumper, indeed the bonnet of the car. As we do look to the scenic view, it's a perfect time for us to take a look through the race results subject to any stewards' inquiries, and here they are. So after another intense race of 12 laps here at the Interlagos circuit in Brazil in round number 3 of season 5 of the NXTCC powered by IMB Racewear, Mikey Doble taking the win for Doble Sim Racing by almost 6 tenths over iRacing Esports' Nick Clemens P2. Gavin Garner P3 for NXTGEN at Pink, a further 3 tenths behind, within 6 tenths to Sam Smith, just missing out on the podium there after an error out of turn number 12 cost him dear, but still a P4 for the iRacing Esports driver, and I don't think he'll be too upset about that. Benjamin McCluskey P5 for NXTGEN Pink completing the top 5 there, and holding off Jaroslav Sabila to the line for Semper Racing, with Reese Watt for JW Motorsport fighting his way back to P7 in the end after that contact he had with McCluskey going into the final lap, and then Jamie Dory for NXTGEN Pink ahead of Daniel Martin for RD Simsport, with Adam Delmont completing your top 10 for SRL NXTGEN. Isaac Doble P11 there, your winner in the Prime class for Doble Sim Racing. Another win in his books, and therefore some major points to be gained, and one more race still to come. Could he make it a 2 wins out of 3 today? We'll have to see. With Joseph Doble there, his brother, just behind P12 for Doble Sim Racing. And then Brammer Esports is Luciano Vitford, a special mention, started P33, fighting his way through and taking 20 places on the way to P13, and guaranteeing he will be on that reverse grid with that 13th place finish. Affinities pulls and Atachi P14 ahead of Lee Horn for NXTGEN with Sam Cases, and then we see Ben Altrier there, P16, runner up in the Prime class, and another Prime podium for the Full Tilt Motorsport driver, and his runner results continue to shine on through, and I think he's going to be absolutely beaming about that one. Wojciech Swierdowicz P17 ahead of Ian Manners, with Alan McCain your third place finisher in the Prime class to complete that Prime podium of Isaac Doble, Ben Altrier, and Alan McCain for iRacing Esports, ahead of Daniel Downing and Sam Van Alst. The Goldwing Motorsport pair once again finishing P4, P5 this time, but finishing together there inside the Prime top 5, and Goldwing Motorsport getting plenty of points in this race. And then it was Duncan Moraes. Me at 22 there for Goldwing Motorsport. In fact, Goldwing Motorsport P4 through to P6 in the Prime class, so they'll be pleased to be all together. Head of Martin Shirley, your last eligible reverse grid position driver, finishing P23 for RD Simsport, and then James Spencer-Scout and Matthew Addy completing your top 25. William Guthrie P26 having to recover after that early spin. We believe there may have been some contact involved with Wojciech Swierdowicz, but we can't quite confirm that, ladies and gentlemen. That'll be something the stewards will look at after the racing today. But recurring to P26, but 90's got to come all the way through the field and essentially replicate what Luciano Vitford was able to do in this race if he wants to finish inside the top 10, with Callum Jenkins, Rafael Zarch, and then we can see the completion of the top 30 by Paul Scott and Fraser Elphick. P31, Ian Wood in his best result of the season so far, P31 and P10 in the Prime class, and the Manly Motors drive being followed up by the privateer of Jake Allay, with then the last 2 lead lap finishers of Russell Fowler and Luke Jones taking you to P34. Behind the JW Motorsport driver, Mark Sykes P35 for NXTGEN with Sam Cases finishing a lap down. The same for P739 Motorsports is Stephen Fry and Craig Tiddleston and Matthew Cheverton. And as we come all the way to the end of the finishing positions, Alex Meredith and Peter Greenwood completing your top 40, with John Higgins Jr. finishing 2 laps down there for NXTGEN with Sam Cases, 3 laps down for the unfortunate retirement of Dan Mould, and last but not least, they're classified as a non-finisher as he did not complete over half the race distance after retiring 2 laps into the race, George Watson at P43 there for Aztec Racing. But that concludes our second race of the day, ladies and gentlemen, and what a race we have had. There's been no question about it, but we've still got one more to come here in Brazil, and that will be race number 3, will be approximately 9:45, if perhaps not 1 or 2 minutes after. But of course, you're all waiting for it, and we're not going to dilly-dally any further. It is that reverse grid draw for our final race of the day. And well, as we cut to the commentary booth, hello to you again, ladies and gentlemen. And well, this time we are going to be drawing 2 balls out of Lottery Bowl rather than 1. It's the same format, the numbers 6 through to 12 in here, but we'll take 2 balls out, add them together, and that will be our number of choice for this final reverse grid of the day. So without further ado, let's do the draw. So after our shuffle, number 1 coming up. And our first number is going to be the number 10. So number 10 makes another appearance in the race number 3 reverse grid draw, and that's going to make it quite a sizable grid. So now we do our shuffle and draw our second number. And our second number being drawn is... It is going to be the number 7, which does mean that it's the top 17 that's reversed, and Wojciech Swierdowicz ends up on pole in an exceptional set of circumstances here. So we're going to be seeing the Semper Racing driver leading the way off the line, but will he be able to make it a Semper Racing win twice today, or will some of his rivals have something to say about that? Well, all that and more is coming up in race number 3, ladies and gentlemen, but we are going to be taking a bit more of an extended break this time around before we return for the build-up to race number 3. So we'll see you in approximately 5 minutes time, but without further ado, let's have a quick word from our title sponsor for this season, and that's IMB Racewear, to get you keyed up for the final race of the day. We'll see you very shortly. And we are back, ladies and gentlemen, for our final race of the day. Race 3 of 3 coming up in approximately 5 minutes' time, and another 12 laps of racing as the sun begins to set here in São Paulo, Brazil. And what a pair of races we have had so far. We have had drama, we have had fantastic battling, and everything in between. And whether you look at the front of the field, the midfield, or the back of the field, there's plenty to be enjoyed and absorbed. There's no doubt about it. But now coming into the crunch point of our final race of the day with the major reverse grid, and it's a top 17 reverse grid today with one man on pole, and it's this man who you see in your picture right now, Wojciech Swierdowicz, who'll be taking that reverse grid pole position for Semper Racing and look to make it another win for the Semper Racing team after their 1-2 in the first race of the day, which saw Jaroslav Sabula take the win ahead of Swierdowicz in P2. But will he be able to make it happen, or will it be one of those results which comes wanting? We'll have to see, given the fierce competition he'll have around him, but given the fact he'll have no success ballast in the car, it may just be a major opportunity for Swierdowicz to break away if he can get a good start off the line. As he makes his way on through turn number 4 there and gets himself set. We are going to try and get a quick word with one of our tour drivers before we go ready to go racing one last time today. And in fact, we might be able to get a word with what is Reese Watt, I do believe, as he makes his way on to the start-finish straight. And let's see if we can catch a word with a man who really wasn't a tear and a charge in what was our final race only moments ago, as we do try to catch him very shortly as he makes his way on down to turn 1. And we're going to catch him when he comes out of turn number 3 and on towards turn number 4. Just that way we don't distract him from his practice too much. Always conscious of the fact our drivers are in their cars at the time, so we don't want to cause them to end up in an accident. But as we do now try and get a patch through to the car, we do have to ask, Reese, do you have a moment for a quick word?
I do, yeah, hello.
Reese, what a drive for yourself in race number 2, battling your way through the field, and even when you did end up going a bit wide out of turn number 1 on the final lap, that didn't stop you from fighting your way back to a 7th place finish. It looked as though race number 2, the car was lively, you were lively, and absolutely loving it.
Yeah, it's a fun track today. I think the weight ballast of the other guys and me not having any has played into my hands a little bit. But yeah, I mean, the battling was just awesome, and I think just picking each driver one by one and just trying to carefully judge a move. It was great. Really enjoyed it.
Oh, indeed, it was fantastic racing. Oh, sorry, God, you guys.
Yeah, there was a couple of comings together which I'm very sorry for, including John. And me and Ben have had a discussion on the going wide out of turn 1, which was, yeah, just unfortunate, a bit of a racing incident. But yeah, it was just a really fun race.
Oh, indeed. And now looking ahead to our final race of the day, you're going to be starting, I do believe, P11 on the grid. We're a little bit success ballast in the car as well. Can we expect a top 10 to wrap things up from you today?
That would be lovely, but we'll just have to see how it all pans out.
Well, Reese, we wish you the best luck in the final race.
Cheers. Thanks, Paul.
And just speaking briefly there with the JW Motorsport driver, and conscious we were minutes ago, we do need to let him now focus on the racing a little bit there. And well, as he gets himself all set and ready, well, talking there about the fact, apologetic for some of the incidents that he was involved in that previous race, but of course it's not going to be without contact or incident when we do go racing in the NXTCC. Indeed, you've got to look back for the last 4 seasons, though, that in every race there have been some major incidents, and well, sometimes our drivers have been told as a whole, you've got to calm it down, and other times a couple of drivers are pulled aside and told, you know what, perhaps just turn it down a notch slightly and keep the racing as clean as possible. But I'm sure whatever happens, the number 32 driver didn't mean anything bad by it, and it's always a close race there as he gets himself set and ready to go once more. But as he does so, we're only at moments away from going racing. And we see a Kerr worry there, saying in the YouTube chat with regards to William Guthrie's damage in race number 2, the bent rear wing on the back of the car, confirming the potential contact with what was Wojciech Swierdowicz. And good observation there from you, Kerr Worry. We do appreciate that. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, if you do have any insights or spot anything we don't spot, do always feel free to point out, because at the end of the day, we'll try and bring our attention to it just as much as you draw our attention to it as well, because we'll try and be the all-seeing, all-observing eyes and ears. But we can't catch everything necessarily, but what we can catch is another round of fantastic fantastic racing due to come, and we are now very shortly heading to the grid for that final race of the day. Race number 3 coming up in what is the next few seconds, and as the sun sets in Brazil, who will take that final win of round number 3? Let's find out. So the drivers make their way onto the grid for the final time today. Let's take a look at how the grid lines up. It's Wojciech Swierdowicz who takes reverse grid pole position, joined on the front row by Full Tilt B Motorsports Ben Altrier, the prime pole sitter. Lee Horn starts P3 for NXTGEN with Sam Case, is joined on row number 2 by Paul Zanatachi for Affinity, with Luciano Vitford starting P5 there for Brabham Esports, and he'll find himself conjoined by Joseph Doble for Doble Sim Racing. Isaac Dole for Doble Sim Racing starts P7 ahead of Adam Delman for SRL NextGen, with the top 10 being completed by Daniel Martin for RD Simsport and Jamie Dory for NextGen Pink. And then it's Reese Watt who starts P11 Best the Rest ahead of Jaroslav Sabula, with row number 7 going to the pair of Benjamin McCluskey and Sam Smith. And Gavin Garner and Nick Clemens line up on row number 8, with Mikey Doble and Ian Manners on row 9, and Alan McCain and Daniel Downing complete your top 20 together. Then we see on row at number 11, Sam Van Alst and Duncan Rise, with Martin Shuddy and James Masserscow completing your top 24. And now with only a couple of drivers left to get into position, well, they are in position, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to start going through the grid, because here come the light sequence, and it's going to be 1 red light, 2 red lights, 3 red lights, 4 red lights, 5 red lights. And it's lights out and away we go for our final race of the day here. Race 3 of 3 as they charge off the line. And Swierdowicz looking to get a good start, but it's a slow start for Swierdowicz. Meanwhile, as they power their way towards the braking zone, Lee Horn looking around the outside. Middle tree in the middle of the road. Swierdowicz bogging down and finding a box of neutrals. But meanwhile, Lee Horn takes the lead and now will try to confirm it as he makes his way on through the opening quarters. Swierdowicz there side by side with Vitford, who's earned his right to be right back up there. And as they make the way through turn number 3 on towards 4, the retro poster I think is going to lead to even more battling as the Brabham Esports driver extends the legs of the Veloster and makes his way on down. But notice now that Swierdowicz going defence on the inside, and it's going to bring them all together, but the top 2 will run away as a result of this. But right now the Brabham Esports driver's not done as they come on through turn number 4 and in towards 5. They go side by side up the hill all the way through the left hand and up towards turn 6 and 7. And as they head their way into the braking zone here, will we see a potential move completed by Vitford, or will we see Swierdowicz fight it back? Well, right now as they make the way through the right hander, behind them 2 by 2 comes Zanatachi and also Joseph Doble. So right now it's like Noah's Ark under battling as they make the way out to the right and into left, and still Swierdowicz is not giving up here as they cover the left hander. Vitford goes a bit deep, however, and that might end it, and it brings Paul Zanatachi right into the battle as they come out of turn number 9 in towards 10. And now the Brabham Esports trying to go defensive. Meanwhile, Joseph Doble trying to make things work out here, looking for the move up the inside as well, but around the outside he will have to go, and with that it's going to open the door to Adam Delmont, and Adam Delmont now going on a full mission here to try and get things done as Joseph Doble tries to come across to find the Hondas right there, and Adam Delmont the opportunist and making it work lovely. As meanwhile further behind Isaac Doble here almost is trying to make some ground as they make the way up the hill and on towards the end of lap number 1, but a fantastic opening lap, especially inside the top 10 with the battling of plenty. And as they make the way onwards towards turn number 1, well, right now after 1 lap of racing, it's Lee Horn who leads ahead of Ben Altrier P2. These 2 are breaking away. And Wojciech Swierdowicz P3 ahead of Luciano Vitford P4, Paul Zanatachi P5 ahead of Adam Delman P6, Joseph Doble P7 ahead of Daniel Martin at P8, Isaac Doble P9, although I say that now to thrown down to what is P10 for a brief match as Jamie Dory tries to look for the move, but Dory coming on through here. The battle for P10 between the two of them continuing its way on around as they make their way through the left-hander and onwards towards what will be turn number 4 very shortly. And as they power their way, who's it going to be? Will it be the Audi or will it be the Veloster? We'll have to say as they head towards the braking zone and heading in towards turn number 4. It's going to be Dory gets ahead. Reese Watt trying to muscle his way through as well as there Isaac Doble runs a little bit wide in order to give himself some breathing room and space on the number 32 JW Motorsport machine. But up the hill they go here, and it's still Isaac Doble on the inside in the battle for P10. Reese Watt trying to get this done around the outside into 6-7, but on the widest circumference he'll know, just like everybody else, the fact you've got to go for a longer distance than ever. It makes it harder to guarantee this move's going to come about. But on the outside of turn number 8, he gets it nice and deep into the braking zone, gets the inside of 9. Isaac Doble turns in, finds that he's still got the JW Motorsport Audi there, so these two right now not letting each other go as they make the way in towards turn number 10 onto the brakes here. And well, you can't make this up. Fantastic side-by-side racing between them as Isaac Doble finally holds the position there, P10, but Jamie Dory's been given a whole second in order to break away now, and therefore it's no further progress from Isaac Doble. Meanwhile behind Sam Smith, even Jaroslav Sabula behind him right now, as the iRacing eSports driver finding that pressure constantly on him as they make the way out to turn number 12 and onwards towards the start-finish line they go. Meanwhile, a bit further behind, Duncan Moraes here battling with Ian Manners and Martin Shirley. The primes separating the two pros as they come through the kink of 14, and as they power the way on down here, the Goldwing Motorsport Honda looking out of position versus the other two Hondas, not in the tow, and I suspect he might just gradually lose ground here unless he can really force things on the brake onto the inside. But meanwhile, up further in front as well, we do have a bit of battle there between Nick Clemens and Gavin Gardner at the front of the screen, but Moraes goes deep, contact there with Ian Manners, and it's Moraes who sent her around, and the South African driver there will be absolutely fuming. They feel as though he got it done, and we thought he had, but he does rejoin in the end, albeit a long way down. Meanwhile there, that is just behind Ian Wild making a move around the outside of Rafael Zurch, but then Zurch coming back here on the outside now, turn number 3 we should say, and this is the battle between them for P37, and a good little battle developing between the Pro and the Prime as they power their way on down the Retro Aposta, and the Mali Motors driver here still looking on the inside as they make the way towards the braking zone, but then Ian having to back out of it, knowing the Honda's got the brakes to its advantage. But meanwhile, Dan at Mould, having started from the back of the field after that late retirement in race number 2, now finds his way through up to P34 already, making more progress with what is a grand total of 40 cars on the grid in this final race today. A few cars having to withdraw due to damage picked up in race number 2. They couldn't quite all make it, but right now the SRL driver definitely eager to try and recover as much as he can and get some more points back on the board. It's a long way, but the way is up, and as he makes his way through turn number 8 to 9, his next target will be Peter Greenwood with a P739 Motorsport driver beckoning in the wings. But coming up the road, meanwhile, we do look to Matthew Sheraton, who does have Stephen Fry right behind him as we ride on the rear and look back from the rear of the Aztec Racing 390 car with pressure they're building from where is Stephen Fry behind, and Fry here trying to take P10 off of Sheraton in at the prime pass. They head under braking, and you see the Elantra getting very close to get it to the start of this race. That's where the Elantra is strong versus the Honda, but it's in the second half of the race where we see the favours and the scales tip the other way, and it will be the Elantra that starts to wear thin in terms of its tyre life. Meanwhile, the Honda in the zone at that point, and right now Sheraton trying to get that Elantra baby. You can see the straight line speed difference here of the Elantra as it powers its way around the outside, but Sheraton's got the shorter run to turn 1 plus the inside line plus the brakes of the Honda, so when you put it all together, the package does mean that he will be able to defend this. But Fry's going to try and commit to the outside. Can he get it done as they make the way from left into right? Fry still down the inside into the centre S part 2, going through turn 2, but has to back off there, knowing there would be contact between them otherwise, and Matthew Sheraton holds the position for now, as meanwhile we look from then to John Higgins Jr., who's also trying to carve his way through the field after what is a difficult race number 2, up to P27 here, or is he into P26? And he looks on the inside of Luke Jones, and the JW Motorsport driver on the outside looks at the cutback, can't find it, and Higgins Jr. takes another place for NXTGEN with Sam Cases as they make the way through turn number 5 and up towards 6-7 they go. But looking from them back up towards the top 10, ladies and gentlemen, and we do look here to Lee Horde, who right now continues to lead, albeit he's got Wojciech Swierdowicz right behind him now, as they make the way through turn number 9 into 10, and well, as close as he would like right now, Swierdowicz really putting that pressure on as they come through, but we lose Swierdowicz there, and is that a sign of a retirement, i.e. a disconnect from Swierdowicz? No, it's not to be. We thought that could have been very early drama in this race. Swierdowicz right there, and I think Lee Horn and both Ben Altria would have had their hearts in their mouths there as to what could have potentially occurred, but as they make the way through turn 12 and into 13, we hope for Swierdowicz it's not a sign of something to come here. We don't want to see anybody retire from the race. We want to see everybody in it from start to finish. And as they make the way onwards towards the start-finish line, it's gone to lap number 5, with Swierdowicz getting closer and closer on the charge here, looking around the outside of Horn. Horn will have the brakes, but Swierdowicz has got the speed, and as they make the way towards the braking zone here for turn number 1, who's going to be leading coming out of the centre S? Will it be Swierdowicz who goes to the outside, or will it be Horn on the inside? They slide the way through the corner, but Swierdowicz a bit more composed there, gets the inside into the turn 2 centre S, and as they make the way through the cover to Sol, it's Swierdowicz who takes the lead this race, with plenty of laps still remain. Can Horn come back with Ben Altria right behind him? And Altria at this point will not be wanting to lose an overall podium here. That would be the absolute icing on the cake on what's been a stellar day so far. And as they make their way down the break, and also keep in mind there's Paul Zanatachi making his way up the inside of what is Adam Delmont, albeit the two of them rubbing door paint. And as they come out the corner, they're still side by side as they power their way up towards turn number 6. Well, Swierdowicz have got the lead, but right now this battle for P5. Well, Delmont's leading it, but Zanatachi's right there. And meanwhile, Joseph Doe at the inside is. Zanatachi gets into contact. Joseph Doe takes plenty of apex curve, and Zanatachi is, as a result, forced wide. As up the inside goes Daniel Martin. He makes it a 2-for-1 special there. And right now, goodness me, the number 70 driver from RD Simsport, he may not have been in the place at that point, but he definitely was in the right place to take the chance and the opportunity. And that's absolutely brilliant work there from the number 70 driver, making the Honda absolutely fit into the space available. And I think right now, Joseph Doble and Zanatachi will be thinking, how on earth did he just make that happen? Was they make the way on through what is turn number 11 into 12? Well, it's going to be one of those ones I'll take a look back at afterwards. In fact, we can get a quick replay as to how exactly that was made. And here's the move from Daniel Martin for the 2 places at once. And riding on board here, you'll see Joseph Doble and Zanatachi come into contact. And in doing so, Martin just says, okay, if you're going to both be bruising one another, I'll just simply put it up the inside of you. And in the end, Joseph Doble having no response there. I think looking back, it'll be thinking, was it worth fighting that hard? But as they make the way in towards another lap, on towards turn number 1 they go once again. We do look to Jay Calais here, battling with Alan McCain for P5 in the prime class with P23 overall. They're chasing after Matthew Addy, who's P22. And as they head in towards the opening corner here on lap number 6, Paul Scott just behind. And these 3 drivers right now all come from different points of the field over the course of the racing today, with Jay Calais really been the driver who's had to grind his way out from the back of the field. Paul Scott taking the win in race number 1, and Alan McCain taking a podium here today as well in the prime class. So all 3 of them had different fortunes, and right now Calais digging in deep in the privateer 89, but Paul Scott's right there as he takes a little look to the inside into turn 4. But has he got the ability to open up the door under braking? No, he hasn't. Have lost to having the brakes to equal the Audi, and as they come through 4 and into 5 right now, Jay Calais having to fall further and further back into the clutches of Scott, not really able to focus on chasing down McCain anymore as they make the way into turn 6 and 7. And Scott backing off early. They're hoping Calais will miss his braking point, but if anything, it's not going to be that way. As Alan McCain does go deep, as we see a surprise iRacing Esports car on the right of our picture there, so misses his braking point going wide, and Jay Calais does gain the P5 in the prime class there through pressure and a mistake on McCain. But they come out of 9 into 10, and can the privateer now hold on to this? His next target will be Daniel Downing, but Downing's a long way up the road in P18, the best part of 4 seconds up the road. So I think this might be more now just trying to break away and hold on for the remainder of the race as they come down for 11 into 12. But as they do, meanwhile, looking from them back up towards your top 10, and in particular back to the battle for P4. This is Adam Delmont right now trying to make his Honda as wide as possible, with Luciano Bitford right behind. And well, I can definitely tell you that right now, Cool Shark Race in the YouTube chat cheering on Bitford. It's great to see there. And well, it is Bitford right now who's trying to do everything he can in order to gain more places. As you can see behind, that is going to be Joseph Doble going to win as Bill Bitford looks around the outside. And with that, Joseph Doble takes a slice to the inside. He's going to cut back here to turn number 2, and Daniel Martin is going to be out of position here as his Bitford is going to enable Delmont just to run away there. And goodness me, I think Vitford, seeing that Martin had to go really defensive versus Doble, it led to Vitford falling off a racing line, off a racing pace, and Delmont's been given the best part of 1.2 seconds here, as meanwhile Jamie Dory now trying to get into the mix, and Zanatachi not too far behind. And these guys right now, as soon as they start to fight one another, you can see just how damaging the fighting is. It's great for us, of course, as spectators, but it means that in terms of the drivers in front, they're just able to run away as they make the way for turn 6 and 7 right now. It's going to be Dory looking around the outside of Doble as they come up towards turn number 8. And onto the brakes they both go here, and it's still what will be Jamie Dory holding on for now as they come on down towards turn number 9 and going for the left hand here. Well, right now the number 13 driver really trying to make this move happen, but Joseph Doble there getting under Dory's skin and making it not happen in the end. In the fact, just able to get to the inside of turn number 10, and Dory having to back out here, and the same for Daniel Martins. He just cannot find his way past Vitford as they head in towards turn number 12. Great racing between these guys as Martin looks up the inside, using the strength of the brakes of the Honda. It's door rubbing plenty as they come out of the corner, and that's a drag race all the way round to turn number 1 on lap number 8. They'll go on to very shortly, but here's where the Honda loses out, and also the fact he's got the weight in the car as well, which won't be helping. Vitford does not have any success balance in the car, and therefore he's got the full capabilities of that Veloster to his pleasure as they make the way in towards turn number 1 here. And Martin right now, we're keeping it on the inside. Vitford coming across, trying to cover off. He does so. There's contact between the two. Vitford goes on straight as they make the way to braking. Martin goes a bit deep, and well, there you could argue who was the later of the two moves. You can see Martin flashing his lights there, not happy with how that's played out. I don't think Vitford would be too happy about that one, but I think that'll be controversial between the two of them, and I think they'll both be pointing the finger at the other after the racing today. But very close racing between them, and meanwhile Zanatachi now looking up the inside of what will be I believe at Jamie Dory as he goes all down the braking into turn number 4, and the Affinity driver here is still trying to batter down the door of what would be at P7 there, but Dory not flinching at any point as they come out of 5 into 6 and going into the double right here. The number 14 driver is either going to commit to the outside or cut back, and in the end he cuts it back, only to find that Dory has parked it there right in his way as they come in towards turn number 8. He's going to go in on the brakes here. Dory sees him coming, keeps the steering open slightly, but Dory will have the inside of 9, and I think that will be another move that's just not quite able to play out for the Affinity driver. But from them, we do look to Alex Meredith. We didn't really get to talk too much about him in race number 2 after what was a difficult race and an early instant putting him a lap down. But right now fighting with Dan Mould, and Mould picking up another place here as they come on through what is turn number 9. Mould up now into a P28 as they make the way in towards turn at number 10 and onto the brace. But Meredith right now running P9 in the prime class. And as they come out of turn 10 and in towards 11, well, it will be at Meredith, who has what is Fraser Elphick coming up next. The 2 SRL Next Gen drivers trying to make further progress, and then Matthew Sheraton and Stephen Fry not too far behind and trying to pull Meredith into a battle for P10 through to P11 rather than enabling him to hold on to that P9 in the prime class. But from what is these guys towards the back of the field to where's the midfield, and in particular we do look to none other than Alan McCain as he makes his way past your camera. You can see Alan McCain with the damage on the car right now on that front right from the driver's perspective, with the wheel arch curved back behind the tyre. As a result, Paul Scott gets in closer and closer. Jay Clay has broken away, so it does look as though it's a battle for P6 between these two as they come down the lock-up there, I believe, for John Higgins Jr. just behind, who's also on a rip and tear through the field here as they make the way through turn 3 and onwards towards 4. But these guys right now getting ready to battle. McCain going defensive out of the Cover de Sol. You can see they're holding that inside line immediately. He doesn't feel confident. He's got the speed. Scott's going to go around the outside. Are we made to do so as they come under braking into left-hander? Scott going for the move here. McCain gives him the space. Scott runs a little bit wide as a result, and they'll be side-by-side coming out of the corner, but McCain will hold the position there as they head uphill towards turn number 6. But as they do, meanwhile, we look back to Mikey Doble just in further afield. Of course, starting P17 in this race, hasn't made too much progress, but with the maximum success ballast in the car, it is always one of the situations whereby if you are starting at the back end of the reverse grid with the maximum weight in the car, making progress can be incredibly challenging. And number 88 driver that demonstrated this, only up to P15 so far, and he does have the Goldwing Motorsport pair of Sam Van Olsen and Daniel Downing right behind him, and they're looking to try and make it P3, P4 in the class, with Isaac Doble quite a way up the field and Ben Altria all the way up to P3 still, as our drivers make the way in towards turn number 12. Onto the brakes they go, and right now no change at the moment. Everyone's staying stationary with Gavin Garner P18 here. The next gen pink driver also struggling as well. It's not been a successful start to the race for the number 11 driver as he makes his way shortly onto lap number 10. Speaking of drivers making the way onto lap number 10, here's Joseph Doble battling with Jamie Dory still in the battle for P6. And as they head in towards turn number 1, Dory looking around the outside, Joseph Doble on the inside. They're very tight entry line, but still he'll just gradually nurse the car through the corner, knowing that Dory's going to have to wait. But if he goes deep like that into turn 2's exit, that's going to cost Joseph Doble a lot of speed here as he makes his way on through. Going up towards turn number 4. Already you can see Joseph Doble going defensive, and meanwhile Jamie Dory getting closer and closer. That Audi looming with 4 rings flying high, and as they come in towards the left-hander, Dory's going to go around the outside this time. Doble there on the apex, and Dory committed all the way around, used a bit of the runoff area, and as they make the way out through, you can see it's Adatachi just behind. Also now trying to build up the speed, they're trying to follow Dory through, putting his money on Dory being able to make the move, but meanwhile Bitford also getting close here after being sent wide out of turn 1 earlier on in the battling with Daniel Martin. And as they come in towards turn number 8, Bitford trying to make the move here. He can't make it around the outside of the Tanatachi, but meanwhile Doble versus Dory continues side by side through 8, through 9. But again, Joseph Doble manages to get the exit on his side as they head in towards turn number 10. Meanwhile, further behind them, Benjamin McCluskey here fighting hard with what is Sam Van Olsen, who's picking his way through the field. With Mikey Doble there also being caught in amongst them all. Doble on the inside of McCluskey coming out of 10. That's the outside of 11 now between the two pro drivers as they make their way through the left and up towards turn number 12. And right now Van Olsen's having to earn it the hard way in terms of fighting his way through for overall position and having a lot of experience in battling these pros as they head upwards towards the next lap. And keep in mind there's only 2 laps left to go, and as they make their way uphill, this man leads the field onto the penultimate lap of racing here today. Wojciech Swierdowicz still leads by 1.4 seconds over Lee Horn, with Ben Altria, the Pro-Am leader, glued to the back of the next gen with Sam Case's driver, and the full Tilt V Motorsport car right now on course for its best ever result in its NXTCC career under the helm of Altria as he makes his way up through turn number 3 right now, and only 2 laps remaining for his win. But also on top of that will be his first ever overall podium as well. Weaving from side to side there, trying to keep Lee Horn guessing. But right now, Altria, I think they'll be on the radio to him at the team saying, don't do anything silly, you're on course for something special right now. But meanwhile, we've had a major incident towards the back of the field, and that's Nick Clemens with the car's an absolute state of disrepair. What exactly has happened to Clemens? And I believe Jay Clay may have been involved in that as well. We have an immediate replay. Well, Jay Clay going very slowly against the wall there, so something's happened to Clay well before all of this, and the car, well, the rear suspension's collapsed. Look at the rear right there, the car's completely gone. And then what happened to Nick Clemens afterwards? Was this a follow-on or a separate incident? Was a separate incident, and we're about to find out what exactly happened. Looking up the inside of Duncan Morais, coming through turn number 3, and in the end turned across the front of the number 17, and well, both drivers end up in the incident. But for Nick Clemens, that was race ending, no question about it, as he tries to get the car back to the pit lane. But meanwhile, as he tries to fight on, we do look back to your live pictures, ladies and gentlemen, and look to Matthew Addy, who fighting hard with Daniel Downing here as they come through turn number 11 into 12, with Martin Shirley just in front. These guys fighting for P18, and in front of them Mikey Doe heading the group for P15 in a side-by-side with Benjamin McCluskey. So right now there's no sign of this abating in the battle for P15, with Sam Olsen and Sam Smith starting to break away. The two Sams trying to have their own scrap for P13 as they charge their way onto the final lap of race here. Today white flag is already out, with Wojciech Swierdowicz already going through turn number 3, but as Doe heads to the line, defending hard into the braking zone here, trying to make sure that McCluskey can't come back at him. I think there's going to be bigger questions. Meanwhile, Smith and Wes Van Ols go side by side into the corner, and Sam Smith out onto the grass there, and the runoff there at turns 1 and 2. Well, we will try and get a replay of that if we can. I think we might be a little bit time strapped, ladies and gentlemen. We'll have to say, in fact, we can get an immediate replay what happened to Sam Smith, and here it is. And goodness me, what exactly happened? We looked at the helicopter cam, and also looking up the inside here under braking goes to Smith coming across. And well, they both went to space on the inside, but Smith in the end receiving the contact from Knowles and being sent to the grass. But it could have been far, far worse. It could have been race ending for the pair of them, but it wasn't to be. But for Sam Smith, it sends him all the way down to P22 and ends his day on a disappointing moment there compared to how it has been going. It's been a phenomenal day for Sam Smith up to that point. But meanwhile, we look back to your live pictures, and Joe Zidole battling with Jamie Dory as they come through 9 and into 10, and the number 11 driver keeping ahead on the Next Gen Racing pink car for now, and has continued to do so all the way through this race, and one of the battles of the season thus far. But as they make their way out of turn 10 into 11, Joe Zidole right now 9 P6 will be the best he's able to achieve. But meanwhile for this man, it was a 1-2 for Semper Racing come the end of race number 1, albeit it was Jaroslav Sabula who led it home ahead of Wojciech Swierdowicz. But as he makes his way through the final corner, the checker flag beckons, and Wojciech Swierdowicz will take the win in our final race of the day here at Interlagos. Race number 3 goes to him ahead of Lee Horn P2, and Ben Altria, your prime winner, takes 3rd place in the overall podium for Full Tilt V Motorsport. The team are going to be absolutely ecstatic, as that's his best ever performance in the NXTCC ahead of Adam Delman and Daniel Martin. And then Joseph Doe P6 holding off Jamie Dory to line, and Paul Zanatachi, Luciano Bitford and Jaroslav Sabula. Isaac Doe makes it the runner-up position in the prime class, P2, P11 overall for Doble Sim Racing ahead of Reese Watt, with Sam Van Olsen coming on through for 3rd place in the prime class and for Goldwing Motorsport, which he'll be pleased about, there's no doubt about it, ahead of Mikey Doe and Benjamin McCluskey. Gavin Garner P16 there, and as we look further down the field, we've still got a few drivers to finish their race, as Craig Tillotson comes across line ahead of, well, behind Mark Sykes, and James Mazescal just behind him, and Peter Greenwood comes to line P36 ahead of Ian Wild, with Nick Clemens being the last driver to go out there to finish this race, albeit he is a lap down, but he is on a lap, ladies and gentlemen, so we will have to wait a little bit longer for the race results to come on in, but Clemens will be your P38 finisher in due course. But what an end to the racing today, with the fact we have seen some special moments from Semper Racing, there's no doubt about it, with Wojciech Swierdowicz taking that win after fighting his way past Lee Horn, but he was never quite able to drop Horn, and I think Lee Horn will take a huge amount of confidence from that. But the big star of what was this final race today, Ben Altria, the 504 driver, Full Tilt V Motorsport, taking the IMB Racewear Prime Class win, but more importantly his 1st ever overall podium. And what what a way to do it, and keeping with Lee Horn all the way through, and also I think trying to intimidate him for the runner-up spot, but in the end he took P3, and I think he'll take it gladly. And Joseph Doble, meanwhile, a P6 well and truly deserved, fending off Jamie Dory for the best part of 11 of 12 laps of racing, and had to throw everything at this. Fantastic racing between the two of them, no doubt about it. And Joseph Doble really digging in for that championship lead as the rounds continue to run on. But as they all gradually make their way into the pit lane, ladies and gentlemen, meanwhile, a bit further on down the order, Paul Scott in the end taking P5 in the prime class, P21 overall, and with that, a challenging end to the day for the 85 driver. But as he heads on through, we've got one drive to finish the race, and here he is, ladies and gentlemen, Nick Clearance, P38 overall, after having to come into the pits to get the car repaired, but he does finish the race in here at the Interlagos circuit in the end. But with that, as all the drivers now cool down and make their way into the pit lane, we've got the prospect to take a look through those race results, subject to any stewards' inquiries, and here they are for our final race of the day in round number 3 of the NXTCC Season 5, powered by IMB Racewear, here today at Interlagos. And as you can see, Wojciech Turodorich taking the win for Semper Race in the end by 2 seconds over Lee Horn for NXTGEN with Sam Cases, and your Pro-Am winner and third place finish on the overall podium, 40V Motorsports, Ben Altria, a further 8 tenths behind. From them, it was the best part of 7 tenths to Adam Delmont for SRL NXTGEN, with Daniel Martin P5 for RD Sim Sport, and then at Joseph Doble at P6 for Doble Sim Racing, ahead of Jamie Dory. You can see the gap there between Martin and Doble standing at the best part of 6.5 seconds. Such was for the veracity with which Joseph Doble was fending off Jamie Dory, that in the end the top 5 were allowed to break away, but Joseph Doble confirming that position ahead of his NXTGEN pink rival, with Affinity's Paul Zenatachi finishing at P8 ahead of Luciano Vitford. The Brahma Esports driver fighting his way through, but wasn't quite able to take a top 5 in this final race of the day, and Jas Sabila P10 there for Semper Racing at 9. And then with the weight in the car, in the end, Harry had to hold on to P10, but just ahead of Isaac Doble, the runner-up in the Prime class, P11 overall for Doble Sim Racing, best of the rest ahead of Reese Watt for JW Motorsport, and Sam Van Alst completing that Prime podium for Goldwing Motorsport, and that Prime podium consisting of Ben Altrier, Isaac Doble, and Sam Van Alst, who finished P13 overall. Mikey Doble P14 and a difficult final race today for the Doble Sim Racing driver ahead of NXTGEN Racing Pink's pair of Benjamin McCluskey and Gavin Gardner. And as we look to the end of the top 20, we can see there Martin Shirley, Daniel Downing, Ian Manners and Matthew Addy completing your top 20, with Paul Scott P21 ahead of Sam Smith, and then John Higgins Jr., Dan Mould and Fraser Elphick completing the top 25. And a difficult day today for SRL NXTGEN in general at the Interlagos circuit, but still plenty of rounds to go, and the mid-season break coming up after this round may just help them to refocus the minds and get back into top gear come at round number 4 and onwards. Behind them, P26, Alan McCain for iRacing Esports, and a difficult conclusion to today, ahead of Alex Meredith for RD Simsport, and then Russell Fowler, P28, fighting ahead of Stephen Fry and Duncan Moraes, with the P30 position going to the Goldwing Motorsport driver, 4 seconds clear of Matthew Cheverton, and then Luke Jones finishing just ahead of Mark Sykes, with the NXTGEN with Sam Cases driver having to fend off Craig Tillerston to line for FR20 Sim Racing, then James Spencer's Gow, Peter Greenwood and Ian Will completing your 37 drivers who finished on the lead lap. It was a lap down for Nick Clemens at line, but the iRacing Esports driver got back out there and finished the race, which is what we always love to see, I should say. And then Jay Clay, the same as well, a lap down at the end, and our sole retiree from this race, Semper Racing's Rafael Zarscht, who finished there 6 laps down, but will be classified as a race finisher as he did complete over half the race distance. So 40 starters, 40 finishers, and well, that finishes all of our racing here today at Interlagos, ladies and gentlemen. And what a set of races we have had. There's been no doubt about it. The tempo and the intensity of the racing continues to rise as we go deeper and deeper into this season. But of course, now with that racing coming to a conclusion and a breather just on the way for our drivers as they get a week off as of next week, we're not quite done with today's broadcast, of course, because coming up shortly will be our post-round interviews with our volunteer drivers, 3 of whom we hope to have in the interview room, and we hope to have you join us there in about 10 to 12 minutes time for those interviews. We'll see you very shortly. Take care until then. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back then for our interviews for this evening. And tonight we're going to be hearing from two interviewees, starting with our prime class driver who really has been one of the stars of the show today, and that's Ben Altrier for Full Tilt V Motorsport, not just for his third place in race number 3, but also his charges to second place in class in race number 2 and 6th place in class in race number 1. And after him, we're going to be speaking to the pro driver of NXTGEN Pinks, Gavin Garner in the number 11, who in the Audi RS3 had to fight his way up and down the field, particularly inside the top 10 for the first 2 races. But in race number 3, it was an uphill battle that couldn't quite be sated by the Audi RS3's torque on the straights. Without further ado, it's my pleasure to have joining me in at the interview room none other than Ben Altrier. And Ben, what a day from yourself. I mean, when we last caught up with you in round number 2, you were saying about the fact that the results were finally coming on through, the practice was finally showing, and the rewards were being reaped. But how about today? I mean, a 6th place in race number 1 in class, a 2nd place in class in race number 2, and then not just a class win in race number 3, but a 3rd place overall. Your first ever overall podium to go with the conclusion of Interlagos. You must be absolutely proud.
Yeah, I'm incredibly happy with my performance today. I had one issue. I had a coming together with Alex in race 1, and that's racing mistakes happen. Dropped us both back a bit, and I think Alex came out of it really poorly. But I'm very chuffed with how I've done today. It's been a very good few races.
Oh, most definitely it has. And I can see in the YouTube chat a good number of your colleagues from Full Tilt V Motorsport absolutely pleased, particularly what is their Welsh boy at 2012, and also I believe Tampax Comfort, who's a very proud father of you, so your dad tuning in. And with that, what a way to start off as well. I mean, qualifying a P4 in class, P18 overall, not bad, a great place to work from. It looks so things were hooked up in qualifying.
Yeah, qualifying went quite well. I could have squeaked a little bit more out of the car, but it was touch and go. I maybe a 10th. And it's just you make one small mistake at that point and you'd lose that ability to reach that at that point. So I was happy with how I qualified. Paul made a huge placement for Pro-Am on qualifying. I was surprised by him flying through on the last 2 laps or so to place qualifying as P1 for Pro-Am. That was impressive.
Well, most definitely a surprise from Paul Scott, but still, surprises are one thing qualifying, but when we do go race it, it's an entirely different matter. And like you say, race number 1 going well, albeit a bit of an altercation with Alex Meredith at one point, which left you both wounded, albeit your wounds not too much to stop you from coming home P6 in class.
Yeah, I got away with it quite fortunately, but it's not how I like to do things, and I made a mistake. I cut him off on the exit of the corner. I just misjudged where the track would be as I'm following Sam through the exit, and just clipped the back of Alex.
Well, it was an unfortunate incident, but still carrying on forward into race number 2, and really with track temperatures starting to reach their peak at that point, race number 2 saw you make further progress back to P16 overall and 2nd place in class, and it looked tough out there in race number 2. There were plenty of incidents in the midfield, but you managed to steer clear of all the danger and fight your way through to position as well.
Yeah, that race 2 was quite a fun race from my perspective. I had a lot of people to race with and plenty of opportunity to get past a few people, and it's quite entertaining, and I'm very happy that led to P2 as it was. So
well, indeed, hard earned out. I have to ask, between race 2 and 3, did you notice a change in the track temperature? Because we know the Elantra is one of those cars very sensitive to high track temperatures, particularly when you go above 40 degrees centigrade.
Honestly, I've done quite a lot of practice around here at 58 to 60 degrees temperature, so anything below 58 is more grip for me than I was used to. So I don't even know what the track temp was in race 3, but it felt fine to drive. It was I felt I could brake later than I was used to, which was surprising actually.
Oh, goodness me. Well, that's a unique perspective there. And the fact that you're able to take more confidence in the car and be able to brake later only helped you out, because going into race number 3, of course, we drew out the lottery bowl, the number 17, which meant you'd start P2 on the overall grid. I mean, just taking a pause there, how did you react to that?
I was, when I saw you draw the 10 ball, I was very happy, because that was either going to put me towards the front or completely cut me out, and there was only 2 options, so it gave me the chance. If you'd have drawn a lower number first, I would have been a little more skeptical, but drawing that 10 first was that put me nice and excited. And then when you draw that 7, perfect. Couldn't have asked for a better number.
Oh, indeed. At the start of the front row of the grid, we saw yourself and also Lehorn have a phenomenal start, with eventual race winner Wojciech Swiderich really struggling off the line. Of course, starting on the front row has the disadvantage of starting uphill, but it looked as though that didn't upset you.
No, I got quite a good launch. I wasn't expecting it to be quite as fast as it was, and I think Wojciech, was it? I think he bogged down quite badly to begin with. Managed to catch it just after the green had gone, but yeah, Lee and I stormed away for the first lap or 2, and then Wojciech started coming back at us.
And I have to ask, going into this race, knowing you'd be starting on pole for the Prime class and right up there inside the top 3 overall, was there a particular approach you took to this race? Was there perhaps the mindset of, you know, I'm not going to battle the pros around me unless I really need to? Just take us through the philosophy for that final race.
That's mostly how I race anyway. If there's a pro around me and I'm not within reach of a pro-am, there's not really a need for me to fight them. I'll hold my position, but if they get to a point where they can make a clean overtake that's not going to compromise either of us, I'll just let them have it. So in this scenario, Lee got a decent start off the line, and I got a decent one with him. But there's not a huge incentive for me to fight him into turn 1, so I just let him take turn 1 and then followed him. And then as Wojciech came through towards the 3rd or 4th lap, or whenever it was that he caught up, I fought him into a couple of corners because I didn't want it to compromise myself too much, because I didn't know how far back the next pro-am was at that point. But then once I realized that there wasn't a huge amount of point doing it any further than I had done, I just let him go as well.
I see. And then with the position shifting and then sitting in P3, we did see, as the race came towards its conclusion, the field behind constantly squabbling over position and therefore not really closing. And I get the feeling on the last 2 laps you started to take a bit of a cheeky peek up the inside of Lehorn, particularly going down the Retta Aposta.
Yeah, I was just playing with him a little bit. He and I have got a good little riposte between the 2 of us, and I'm just playing with him a touch, knowing that we had time to the guys behind, just to give him a cheeky "Hello, I'm still here." But
well, that's absolutely fantastic hearing that rapport you have with Lee as well, going a long way, and then coming around the final corner on the final lap to see that checkered flag waving and to take not just the prime win but also 3rd place overall. I mean, just take us through what went through your mind at that point.
Probably something along the lines of yes, finally. I was more happy about the P3 overall than I was necessarily the P1 in class, which probably sounds strange to a fair amount of people. But for me to hold it with some of the faster pros is quite a nice boost to my confidence in driving this car. So that was probably the best reward out of race 3 for me.
Well, that's absolutely fair, and I think many would understand your reasoning behind that, and indeed I could appreciate that the fact you're able to stay with some of the finest drivers on the grid throughout the entirety of the race at a circuit which is not easy to do well at, even under your own volition in a time trial setup. Well, that's testament to how far you've come since the start of your NXTCC career. And of course, with this result now, And going into the mid-season break, Ben, it does mean that in terms of the provisional Prime standings, you move into P2, sitting on 370 points. The best part of what is 66 behind Championship leader Isaac Doble, but it's all still to play for when we return in 2 weeks' time. How do you feel your championship's been after 3 rounds?
I'm very happy with how it's gone so far. Isaac's a little way in front, but he's not outside of a reachable goal, so I'm still aiming to try and catch him if I can. So that's my rule of play at this point. Try and catch him.
Well, that's a fair philosophy, and when we do return in 2 weeks' time, we'll be returning for the Motorsport circuit in Canada. How are you feeling for a visit to what we call Canadian Thruxton?
I've never actually driven there yet, so this will be interesting. I'm going to have to head over there and get some practice time.
It sounds like it's going to be a bit of an uphill battle for yourself, Ben, but I'm sure you'll be able to rise to the challenge given how you've risen over the course of this season. But just before we do let you go, is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out or a thank you to live on air tonight?
Probably give a shout out to Corey if he's still watching. He's always supportive of me, so it's nice to give some payback to a long-time friend.
Well, I'm sure Corey will appreciate that. And do let us know, Corey, if you're in the chat right now. And do give us a thumbs up with regards to that. But with that, Ben, it's been an absolute pleasure having you join me in the interview room. And congratulations once again on a phenomenal way to wrap up your first 3 rounds of the season in Season 5 of the NXTCC. A great result, a great set of results, and of course now the pressure will be on to deliver plenty more when we come back in 2 weeks' time. But until then, relax, savour the moment, and we'll see you at Mosport 2 weeks from today.
Thank you.
So here and there from Ben Altrier, the Full Tilt V Motorsport driver, who absolutely, I think, spellbound by his glory today. And, well, not just taking his first ever Prime win in what was race number 3, if my memory serves me correctly, but also his first ever overall podium. And what a drive it was, keeping with Lee Horn and Wojciech Swierdowicz all the way through, but being transparent and mentioning the fact that he had no intention of really batting with the pros, given the fact he's not in the same league in terms of the championship league versus them, but deciding to stay with them and seeing if he could stay on the pace, and to be able to do so, again, a huge boost to his confidence. And you can hear it coming through each time we've spoken to him, how he's growing as a driver in the Prime class and really growing as well the potential candidates for that championship crown. But not just about his race number 3 as well, his qualifying, a P4 in class, P18, and feeling as though there's a bit more time out there, and then absolutely staggered by seeing Paul Scott put the car on pole by a sizable margin, but still qualifying being one part, and we saw through all 3 races, albeit with a bit of contact with Alex Meredith in race number 1, not the way anybody wants it to go, and I believe putting his hand up on that one, and most likely having a conversation with Alex after the racing today. And again, when you get it wrong, owning up to it, or at least own up to your part of the bargain, is all part of what makes a complete racing driver, whether it's on the simulator or in the real world. And in race number 2, getting right back to the craft and fighting his way through to 2nd place. Well, right now, Ben Altrier, definitely one of those drivers, very resilient and absolutely pushing the limits as he knows how, and that's why he's going full tilt for Full Tilt V Motorsport. But as we come from our Pro-Am interview, and now to our second and final interview for today, we're going to be hearing very shortly from Gavin Gardner, the Audi RS3 driver from NXTGEN Pink, who definitely had some great fortunes in our first 2 races of today, and also qualifying, but race number 3 leaving a little bit to be desired, albeit I think we can understand as to why, given the success ballast in the car going into that race. But without further ado, he does join me in the interview room. And good evening to you, Gavin. It's been some time since we last heard from you, but a challenging day today at Interlagos for many, but for yourself, a great day. 5th place in qualifying, 6th place in race number 1, a 3rd place in race number 2, and a P16 in race number 3. On the whole, a solid end to your first third of the season?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, no, I'm happy. I think this was going to be a good track for the Audis, or at least it wasn't going to be a bad track. So I had high hopes. The official races were at Interlagos this week, so I think I did 6 or 7 races during the week, sort of in preparation. And then yeah, like you say, it was 3 great results. Last race was a tough one, but even that was an enjoyable bit of racing. So yeah, very happy with that, and definitely a good way to finish the start of the season.
Oh, most definitely. And speaking about the Audi around here and how strong it can be, we know that it's got a very strong gearbox for this circuit, given its ability to get through the gears like no other and also hold those higher gears with confidence. But were there any other aspects of the Audi that seemed to go well here?
I think it's quite a wide track, and there's no sort of particularly slow corners. I think the sort of wiggly bit in sector 2, maybe it struggled a little bit more, but the straights there aren't particularly straight, so you can kind of defend quite well. I think the other cars maybe don't benefit quite as much. The sort of coming out of some of the slow left-handers, I could see cars putting up behind, but they just had nowhere to go. So yeah, I think overall it's just a good track for the Audi. I say nice and wide, fast corners that it seems to enjoy, and you can kind of get all the way to the top of 6th gear, which is where it kind of really sees a lot of that benefit of the top speed. So yeah, no, I think overall it's sort of no particularly weak spots for the Audis. That was why I enjoyed it here.
I do appreciate the insights there on the different aspects of the Audi. I'm sure our viewers do as well. And coming into qualifying and applying those strengths to the Audi, we saw you take P5 overall in a qualifying session that was closely contested throughout. But for yourself in the end, being P5 and only 2/10 off of pole position, it's been one of the closest gaps you've had to pole position this season so far. How did you feel qualifying went for yourself?
Yeah, I was happy. Yeah, like you say, it's so close this season. I think there was maybe 2 attempts there if I did the perfect lap, but I think with the temperatures were quite high, I think I just overdid it at the start and melted the tyres. So when it sort of came to the last sort of 5 minutes of qualifying, I just couldn't improve the time. I think, like I say, P5 I'm very happy with. It's the drivers we've got are phenomenal. To be anywhere in the top 10 with them is great for me, really. So yeah, no, I was super happy with that. I think Jamie was just a few spots behind as well, and so yeah, good to be back in the top 10 with both of us.
Oh, indeed. And with Jamie qualifying P8 behind and going into race number 1, race number 1 looked as though it was a bit of a challenging start for yourself in terms of the fact you end up battling quite closely with a driver who was to eventually finish ahead of you in P5, and that was Dan Mould. And Jamie just sticking behind with Sam Smith between the two of you. It looked as though for every time you could get close to a rival, you had pressure from behind and vice versa.
Yeah, no, it was great racing with Dan. I think I was sort of held in front of him for a little bit. I think really I probably slowed us both down quite a lot and maybe stopped him from getting even further up. I think by the time Dan had overtaken me, it was sort of 4 seconds to the guy in 4th. But yeah, no, it was tough making a move. But I think that's more of a testament to how good the drivers are here. That any overtake is difficult. You try and make any move, and the guy behind you is going to be right on you. So you just have to be so sort of tactical with it. I think there isn't anything particular about the cars or anything that really benefits anyone. Like, no one's out there with a massive advantage because of the car they chose. I think anyone, any of these top drivers could do anything in these cars. So it's just some great battling, but as soon as you battle a little bit too much, you end up dropping into the hands of the guy behind and losing the guy in front. So, but yeah, it was a good race. Really enjoyed it. It was a really fun race, battling with Dan.
We definitely looked as though you enjoyed it out there. And then going into race number 2, making progress and fighting your way through to 3rd place. It looked as though in this race you were able to find a bit more progress out there, but also ended up battling with an old rival in the form of Sam Smith, who wasn't going to let that 3rd place go easily.
No, there was even sort of better battling, I think, in that 2nd race. I think I had obviously starting on pole was a big advantage. Dan got past, I can't remember, I think it was lap 2. I think there's a few sort of scuffles, and I think it was Dan, it was me, it was Sam Smith and Nick Clibbins, and Mikey, of course. But it was some very fun racing. I think the ballast that we had just sort of balanced it to be quite even. It's loads of fun racing with Sam Smith and Nick. Bit of a shame that Mikey and Dan had a little get together towards the end, but another really good race. I think sort of starting off with two great results like that, I was sort of not too worried about starting a bit further back in the 3rd race and sort of enjoy it a little bit more, sort of knowing some of the work is done already.
Indeed, putting in the lion's share of the work in the first 2 races of the day, and going into race number 3. Firstly, I have to ask, with a top 17 reverse grid being thrown into the wind there, which would mean that you would end up starting in what was P15 on the grid, how was your response to that?
I mean, I think it's, what is it, P13 to P22 or something, so it's fairly middling. I knew that the starting third I was going to have extra weight, and I was going to be sort of being thrown back a fair distance. So yeah, I wasn't too worried about being in the back there. As I just wanted to have a good race and keep it clean, which I think for the most part we managed. I think sort of during the race it did start to get a little bit frustrating at times, just with that extra weight, not being able to make a move. There's every few times where sort of as soon as I tried to make a move, like I mentioned, if everyone being so close in pace, you try and overtake someone. If you don't make it stick, then the guy behind you's going past. And there was a couple of times where sort of having to deal with that and just kind of, chill out and make sure you kind of, get your head back down and keep going, became important. But yeah, the starting spot was obviously it wasn't ideal. Obviously you want the lowest spot possible, but yeah, I was not too upset with it really.
Well, a reasonable approach to the race, and with that still close to finishing within the points there with regards to that P16, but wasn't quite to be the way you wanted it to end necessarily, but still some major points in the first 2 races. And bringing to a close the first third of the season, you're currently provisionally P8 in the overall championship, and therefore carrying a little bit of weight into round number 4. When you look back at the opening 3 rounds, how do you feel they've gone?
Well, I'm very happy with rounds 2 and 3. I think Brandt Hatch was a bit of a nightmare for me. I think I wasn't feeling great. I didn't manage to do any practice that week just because I was feeling ill. So getting Brandt Hatch out of the way was good. But yeah, certainly the Americas I enjoyed last week, and this race has been great. So yeah, I'm just looking forward to getting back next time now. And yeah, battling with these guys again. Like I said, I think we've got a phenomenal grid. It's been super fun battling with all these guys, old and new. So yeah, looking forward to getting out again, and yeah, hopefully building on a good start to the season.
And speaking of that phenomenal grid, which you're part of, it's all going to be heading to Canada in 2 weeks' time for round number 4 at what we like to refer to as Canadian Thruxton, or Mosport as it's actually known. How are you feeling for the fast flying circuit?
Yeah, I think it should be a good one. I know the track, sort of raced there a number of times. It's not got, like I say, it's quite wide, fast corners. Audi should be okay there. It's something that looks like it's going to be particularly weak, so I think it's going to be another one where, like I said, the good driver is going to be floating to the top. It should be another close qualifying. With being I think it's a fairly short lap. But yeah, no, definitely looking forward to it. I think there's a few races later in the season I'm not looking forward to as much, but this one, yeah, should be good.
We definitely look forward to seeing you out on the circuit in 2 weeks' time to continue the story of racing for Next Gen Pink and seeing if you can chase that championship crown down. But Gavin, just before I do let you go, is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out or a thank you to live on the broadcast tonight?
Yeah, just the standard shout outs for Jamie and Benji, my teammates, for Martin and Gaz for doing the stewarding and the race control. Like I said, all the drivers for the great racing. And yeah, massive thanks to you as always for the brilliant broadcasts. Obviously, I've enjoyed watching them back the night straight afterwards, and I'm not going to bed till sort of 1:30 in the morning, which probably isn't great for my for work. But I like to watch them back straight away. So yeah, no, thanks for all you do, and yeah, looking forward to the next one.
Well, Gavin, not to keep you away from gradually making your way to sleep, and it's been an absolute pleasure to have you join me in the interview room this evening. Congratulations once again on what has been a great set of results, particularly those 2 top 10s in races 1 and 2, and the podium with it in race number 2. But until we see you in 2 weeks' time, we wish you all the best during the mid-season break, and we'll see you at Canadian Thruxton 2 weeks from today.
Cheers, Paul. Thank you.
So hearing there from Gavin Gardner for Next Gen Racing Pink as we see him on his cool down lap there in the replay footage from race number 3, and reflecting on today with all the hard work being done in races 1 and 2 in gaining the key points, and then not being as worried about the potential damage you'd need to mitigate in race number 3 with the success balance plus also the reverse grid. But on reflection, qualifying well, taking P5 and only 2 tenths off of pole position, and again reflecting just how close it is at the top end of the field, and Gavin being a key part of that, constantly battling for those top 10 finishing positions and really making the most of the Audi today, and talking there about the fact that it doesn't like low speed corners, so the middle section of the circuit, sector 2, where the Audi does have a bit of a weak spot, but otherwise with fast flowing corners, wide open corners and the ability to open up the 6th gear of the car, that's where it's able to strive and succeed where others may fall. And for Gavin today, definitely able to make the most of the Audi to get some good points on the board and score one of the largest points haul in the overall championship from this round and move himself into P8. And looking forward to the Canadian Time Motorsports Park in 2 weeks' time. I think for the Next Gen Pink driver, we could expect another great day of racing. And could we see him suddenly launch his way all the way up towards the front of the standings? Well, only time will tell. But until then, he'll be definitely getting the practice in and getting himself set up for success. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes all of our post-round interviews for today. We only had 2 interviews available, but still we're very grateful to them. And they were, firstly, Ben Altria for the 504 from Full Tilt V Motorsport in the Prime class. And you've just heard from Gavin Gardner from Next Gen Pink in the Pro class. Congratulations to them both for their performances today. And thank you to them both for joining me in the interview room. But of course, ladies and gentlemen, it is now time for us to give you an update on the overall and Pro-Am top 15 for both of the championships coming out of the end of this round. And as we can see, starting with the overall Drivers' Championship, it is Mikey Doble who retakes the lead on 367 points ahead of the 342 of Wojciech Swierdowicz. Swierdowicz charges his way back into P2, and now we have the standings pretty much as they were after round number 1 of racing, with Joseph Doble falling back to P3, but only a further 14 points behind, and then Daniel Martin and Jamie Dory completing that top 5. But note there how the top 4 continue to hold a sizable gap over the rest of the field, with Daniel Martin 323 points to 254 of Jamie Dory, and Dory finds himself under increasing pressure to hold onto that 5th place status, with Adam Delman only 2 points behind and Jaroslav Sabula a further point off. It's 3 points between the trio, and all of them will be pushing for that P5 spot. You can count on it when we return for round number 4. Gavin Garner P8 meanwhile starts to move closer towards the top 5 after bringing home a major points haul today, with what there is Lee Horn at P9 ahead of Benjamin McCluskey to complete the top 10. Now further 4 points behind in P11 is Paul Zanatucci ahead of Isaac Doble, and then it's Martin Shirley, Nick Clemens and Dan Mould and complete your top 15. And keep in mind that Isaac Doble, the only Pro-Am who currently sits within the top 15 of the overall standings, all other drivers being pros, and that is testament to Isaac Doble's continued run of form in the lead of the Pro-Am class. But that nicely brings us on then to the Pro-Am Drivers' Championship, or the IMB Racewear Championship, after 3 rounds provisionally, and it is Isaac Doble who continues to hold a lead that has grown slightly, now on 436 points ahead of the 370 of Ben Altria. Altria finds himself 2nd place for the first time this season ahead of Daniel Downing, with the Goldwing Motorsports driver also staying close to the 2nd place driver and Alex Meredith. A difficult day today, only really gaining major points in the final race of the day, falling back to P4 on 326 points and spurting forward at the circuit in Americas, but finding himself being reined back in as of this round. And can he turn things back around again in round number 4? Meanwhile, Sam Van Olstedt, P5, completing that top 5 on 321 points and not too far behind Meredith, but holding a reasonable advantage over Alan McCain, with Paul Scott in turn a further 13 points off of Alan McCain in P7, and then Matthew Sheraton leading ahead of Luke Jones and Duncan Moraes to complete the top 10, Moraes being P10 ahead of what is Jay Calais, who finds himself just knocking on the door of the top 10, a single point off there as he continues to strive towards success. And it's Mark Sykes, James Mansell-Gow, Callum Jenkins and Ian Wild who complete your top 15, with Ian Wild moving into the top 15 for the first time this season on 120 points. But that concludes our provisional standings. Of course, these will be subject to updates going into round number 4, and we should point out that as of round number 4, you will start to see the drop scores applied for this season. There will be 1 round of drop scores this season, much like in season 4, so the lowest score achieved by a driver over 1 entire round will be discounted, and we'll start to bring in the standings based on those, and those will be applied for the success balance calculations as of round 4 onwards, ladies and gentlemen. But with that, it is now time for us to wrap up. Thank you very much for watching, and if you have enjoyed today's show and perhaps you want to know more about the Next Gen racing community, perhaps you're sat there right now wanting to be on the grid for a future series, we have got plenty of series upcoming, as well as the ongoing NXTCC Season 5, including in the start of 2024, the return of what is the prototypes in their own prototype championship, and also the GT3s in a new season of their own championship. But if you want to know more about them and plenty else here at Next Gen, we firstly recommend you do check out our official website. That's nextgenracing.co.uk, and well, as our website appears on screen in front of you now, it is the home of clean and fair sim racing for all. And we at Next Gen have been hosting leagues now for over 16.5 years as we continue to go from strength to strength. And now our focus is primarily on PC, but still we've got plenty planned for the remainder of 2023 and onwards into 2024, and we would love to have you as part of our journey at Next Gen Racing as we continue to grow as a community. Whether you're an esport professional all the way to an amateur sim racer making your debut in sim racing, we'd be more than happy to have you as part of the community and all part of the fold as one big happy family. But if you don't want to go to our website necessarily, then we could also say that if you're a bit of a social media person, then we recommend you check out our Facebook group, and that's at facebook.com/groups/Next Gen Racing, where you can find out all the same details as on our website, but also you can find out a little bit more behind the scenes as to what our admins and staff members get up to in their spare time when they're not sim racing or working their day jobs, with a good number of our staff members being real world track marshals, if not also real world racing drivers. We'd also like to take this moment to say a big thank you to our sponsors, who do include PowerMax Racing, Next Level Racing, Mark Sykes Designs, Joyce Design, Sam Cases UK, Douglas Motorsport, Benji Sim Photos, and last but not least, our title sponsor for this season of the NXTCC, IMB Racewear, the sim racing and real-life racing racewear provider that prides itself on individuality with their fully custom designs, enabling you to make the impact you have always wanted on track, as it is designed for you by you. Do head to their website, imbracewear.com, to find out more about IMB Racewear's fully customizable product range, which brings benefits you cannot get from off-the-shelf products. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, it is now time for us to turn our attentions to the break week, but after it, we will be returning for round number 4 of 10 at the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, and save the date in your calendar. Tuesday, the 5th of December, is where we pick up the journey that we have started with this season, and with the championships continuing to be wide open after 3 rounds of racing, anything can happen at the Canadian Motorsports Circuit. But the question is, who will be the one to return to flying form when we get back to the racing 2 weeks from now? We'll find out then, but until then, we've been Next Gen Racing. I've been your host and commentator, Paul TX141 Walsh, also known as Britain Spit, depending on what media you follow me on. And until next time, remember to stay safe, stay well, stay smiling, but most importantly, remember to stay on track. Good night.